Welcome to the full GoHighLevel Masterclass. In this rather long video, I'm going to show you everything you need to know in order to fully understand and know how to operate inside of GoHighLevel. When asked, I always recommend GoHighLevel to business owners because it can handle 90% of what you want to automate. It's basically like a very, very solid backbone for your business. Inside, you can manage your CRM platform, you can create calendars, you can handle all your payments, you can even build your own website inside of this platform. You even get access to building various AI agents like voice agents and speech-to-lead text-back agents. Basically everything that you want to be able to have running in the background of your business, GoHighLevel is able to build. Now, there is one thing that can be a little bit of a bottleneck for some people, and that is that GoHighLevel costs $297 a month, which is going to be the plan that will give you access to all the things that you need as a business owner. And so our solution to this problem is that we have actually created a different community that will give members access to unlimited free GoHighLevel sub accounts. And you may be wondering, how are we able to do that? It's because we are actually right now paying $6,000 every single year to GoHighLevel to be able to actually provide you guys with unlimited GoHighLevel. Right now, it's priced at $79 a month, which is going to be around $220 cheaper than what GoHighLevel would initially have set you back. And inside this community, you will also get access to direct help from me and my business partner Jacob, as well as a community of like-minded people who want to learn how to leverage AI in this golden era. I'm going to be leaving a link on how you can get started with that just below this video. So with that being said, let's get you introduced to your new best friend, GoHighLevel. Before we dive into all the golden nuggets, I quickly just want to give you a quick overview. Because if this is the first time you're booting up GoHighLevel, everything can be a little bit overwhelming. So I'm quickly just going to give you an overview of all these different tabs in the left side menu right here. The first one is the dashboard. A dashboard is basically just a quick overview of everything inside of your business. It's going to display the different opportunities that we've had this month, the last 30 days. In this case, it's also showing stuff like the pipeline. I'm going to get into that later. It's not really too important, but the main takeaway is that you can edit it right up here and have it display the different variables that you want it to display. Not too important, quickly moving on. The next one is the Conversations tab. And the Conversations tab is where you're going to be able to manage all your different messages and conversations from clients. Awesome thing about this is that you can connect all your different platforms. So you can connect your WhatsApp, SMS for a phone number. You can connect your social media like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all these different platforms. And all the messages from these platforms are all going to appear inside of this dashboard right here. That way you can easily manage all your customers and all your messages in one single place. The Calendars tab is just basically where you're going to be able to see all your different appointments that you've booked with clients, as well as creating new calendars. After that, we have the Contacts tab. And this is basically the main CRM feature of GoHighLevel. In here, all your different contacts are going to show up. As you can see from the examples right here, you're going to have their name, your phone number if you collect that, their email, and all this different information where you can easily edit and add new variables to catch as much information about your leads as possible. So to put it simply, this is basically just your catalog of your clients. Up next, we have our opportunities. And an opportunity is basically just a way for you to actually manage how far you are with a lead. So let's say you have a new lead coming in from an ad, for example, you can set it up so that lead is placed under the new lead category right here. And let's say you then want to contact them, you give them a phone call, talking with them, blah, blah, blah. Then they get moved over into the contact. Let's say you figure out on that phone call that they are actually a qualified lead. They could potentially use your services. You'd want to move the lead from contacted over to qualified, and so on and so forth until you have them closed or fumbled, for example. Basically, it's just the best way to manage how far you are in the process with a lead. Up next is the Payments tab. And this is just basically the place where you're going to be managing everything regarding invoices and payments. You're able to create subscriptions, payment links, and manage all your different transactions inside of this tab right here. You can also connect it with stuff like Stripe and PayPal. Now we're getting to some of the more exciting stuff, because under AI agents is where you're going to be able to create stuff like voice AIs, conversation AIs, aka speak-to-lead agents, everything surrounding your agents inside of your business run by AI, you're going to be able to create under AI agents. When we are on the topic of AI, I also quickly want to cover the feature that's called Ask AI. It's a fairly new feature from GoHighLevel, which basically just allows you to ask the AI anything about GoHighLevel, and it can give you a very, very specific answer because this AI is trained on the platform. So if you ever have a question or want to build something, you can head to the Ask AI and ask it how that is done in the best way possible. It can also help you build stuff like funnels, websites, and all that stuff, something that we're going to get into later. Up next, we have marketing, and this is basically just your marketing dashboard. This is where you're going to be able to schedule posts for social media. You can run email campaigns. You're going to be able to set up your affiliate manager. So if you want to be an affiliate partner with GoHighLevel, you can set that up right in here and get a percentage of 40% on every purchase that recurs monthly. In here, you're also going to be able to run your ads manager, so you can manage all your different ads from Meta and Google, for example. It also is where you are going to find the ads manager, where you can manage all your ads from Meta, Google, LinkedIn, all in one place to make everything as convenient as possible. Then we have the automations tab, which is arguably the most important one. Because under automations is where you're going to find workflows. And workflows are basically all the automations that you run in your business. That would be stuff like instant SMS once someone signs up on a lead form from your ads, for example, a instant text back if a call is missed, automatic review agents, and all that stuff is all going to be found under workflows. If you create sub accounts under us, which is what I talked about in the intro, every sub account that you create is going to come with all these different workflows. It's just basically like a preset where you get access to meeting reminders, like social media automations from a keyword, for example, and all these different automations you're going to have access to by default. This is also the best way to get started learning automations with AI implemented to that as well, because it's super simple and super manageable. And GoHighLevel has even provided a build using AI feature, so you have your little chatbot that can help you with your problems or stuff you don't understand inside of these separate workflows. So they've gone ahead and done it very simple to get started. Up next is where we have the Sites tab, and under the Sites tab you're going to be able to create your funnels, your websites. You're going to be able to set up stores, webinars, but it's also the place where you build your forms that go on your website or create surveys to give to your clients, for example, after a service has been finished. Apart from that, it's also where you set up your chat widgets that go on your website. This is also a very important tab, so I'm going to break this down in more detail later on. The next one is memberships, and this one is not really too important, but let's say that you want to create a course, for example, or have a community. You're going to be able to create that under memberships. Media storage is another one that is not really too important, but just know that every time you use an image from Google, for example, on a website you create in GoHighLevel or funnel, for example, it's just going to be stored under media storage. So it's basically just a big closet for all your stock images and media. The final one on this list is the reputations tab. And this is basically where you're going to be able to connect your Google My Business profile and have your review, as well as managing all the reviews that you have coming in from your clients. In here, you're also going to be able to create widgets, review widgets that you can display on your website. It may seem like that was the final thing, but there is actually one more thing that is quite important. And that is if you head down to where it says settings, it's kind of going to open up a new different left side menu right here. And to put it simply, this is just basically where you're going to edit all the settings regarding your sub account. So you can change its name, you can change the information from the business, the email, the phone number, you can connect a branded domain if you have one of those already. It's also where you're going to be able to handle stuff like billings, and you can even add your team members. So this would be the place where you want to add your clients or customers if you want them to have access to their GoHighLevel sub account. It's also where you're going to be able to change your email service systems and your phone systems, meaning it's where you're going to be able to buy a phone number. And also, if you want to connect your WhatsApp business, it's going to be in here that you are able to do that as well. You're going to find your domains and URL redirects in here. So if you want to ever buy a domain, you can do that in here. And then we have integrations, which is quite an important one. It's also found in here. And GoHighLevel comes with a bunch of different softwares that they have a connection with already. So something like Google Calendar, Facebook, LinkedIn, your social media, WhatsApp, Google Lead Ads if you run Google Ads, all this stuff can be integrated with the GoHighLevel platform. And the more of the softwares that you use, that you can give GoHighLevel access to, the more it's going to be displayed inside of your sub account. That way, making it more convenient and collecting everything in one place. Apart from that, you can look around. There are a bunch of different other things, but those were the most important things that you're going to be able to find under settings. Now you know the basics of what GoHighLevel is able to do and what different opportunities we have inside of the platform. The next step is that we're going to dive deeper into some of these specific ones so that you get an even better understanding of what you can do with them. let's start building. The first thing that you need to know about are going to be forms and surveys, because these are going to be the ways that we capture new lead information. To give you an example of what a form is, if it sounds like Spanish to you, this is basically an example. It's a website for one of our clients, and what we have created is a form at the right side right here where people are going to provide their full name, phone number, and email, and then a short description of the project that they wish to have done. So let's say they wanted help with building a terrace or something in that regard. This is where they could fill out their information and get in touch with our carpenter. We built these forms and these surveys under sites, and as you can see at the top, like navigation bar right here, we're going to find forms right here and surveys right here. And also I can understand if you're sitting right now and thinking, what the hell is the difference between a form and a survey? And the truth is that they are very, very similar. The only difference is that a survey is typically like a longer form, so it has multiple pages right now. So let's say you are onboarding a client and you need a bunch of information for them in order to actually fulfill your service. You would create a survey. But for example, if they want to book a meeting with you and you only really need their name, phone number, and email in order to send notifications so that they actually show up to the meeting, in that case, you would want to create a form. If you are still a little bit confused about this, trust me, it will make sense when I'm done explaining the both of them. Let's dive into the forms first. Okay, so if you want to create a form, what you do is you come to Forms and you click this blue button that says Create Form. This is going to open up this little window where you either have the option to create it from scratch, or you can start from a template. GoHighLevel provides a bunch of different templates. So let's say you're setting this up for a fitness influencer, for example. You could use, for example, this template right here. But for the most part, I like to actually just build them from scratch. So you just want to select Start from Scratch and click Create. Now this is going to open the editor window where we can create this whole form. So yeah, this is basically how the default form looks. And to be fair, it has everything you need. It collects their name, last name, their phone number, their email, and compliance to actually be allowed to send them out SMS messages. Don't worry too much about this for now. It also has the submit button right here, and you're able to connect your privacy policy and your terms of service. Let's say you wanted to add something else like their organization's name, aka their business name. What you would do is you just come to this little plus icon right here. And then you can see you have all these different little boxes of information that are basically just already preset. So yeah, if you wanted the organization name, you can scroll down, find where it says organization, and you just want to drag it into the form right here. And just like that, you have a new box where you can then tell people to put their business's name. Right now, as you can see, it says enter your organization right here. Let's say I wanted to have it say, put your business name. Come to this little window that opens up right over here. You could just have it say name of your business, for example. And as you can see, this is now the placeholder of the box over to the left. Now keep this window over here open because this is actually where you can edit everything about these boxes that are inside of the form. You can put it to required by flicking required right here. And now the person filling out the form will be required to actually fill out their business name before they submit the form to you. You can also change the labels from saying organization to business name, for example. You get the point, right? This is the window where you're going to be able to edit everything about this singular box right here. And yeah, you can do that for all these different ones by just coming up to the top right and clicking this gear icon right here. It's going to open up the window. Let's say you wanted to change the button from being blue and saying submit. You could have it say sign up, for example. And if you scroll down to where it says colors and background, you're going to be able to change the button background to whatever you like by just using this window right here and just dragging this little ball right here to the color that you want. Then at the top, you're able to rename the form. So I don't want it to be called form 4. I want it to be called website form so that we can remember that for later. And also, if you come over here to these two lines with the circles on them and click that, it's going to open another editor window where you can basically edit the aesthetics of the form's background, the looks of it, and all that stuff. It's all going to be found over here. And so to give you an example of what you're able to do, let's say that I wanted the background of the form to be transparent. I could come to where it says colors and background, click on this right here, click add, and then just drag this little box right down here and just click save. As you can see right now, the form's background is transparent. And if you want to see the live version, aka how it would look for your clients, you can come to where it says preview. It's going to quickly save and it's going to open this up in a new window, and it's going to show me how it would look for people that actually open up this form. And also, if you want to put this form onto your website, it's happening where it says integrate, and you can select how you want it. So let's say you want it as a pop-up that shows up on your website after some time. You can click on that. If you want it to be inline, aka just a solid form on your website, you can select this, or you can have it be sticky to the sidebar and blah, blah, blah. For the most part, you're just going to be using inline. And what you're going to do is you're just going to copy the embed code and paste it onto your website. I'm also going to be showing you how you can do this later when we get to the construction of the actual website. After that, we have the settings of the form. This is basically where you can change what is going to happen after someone fills out the form, or what is going to happen when someone opens up the form. As you can see right now, it's set to message on submit. It's just going to say a simple, "We appreciate your feedback. Thank you for taking time to complete this form." That is an example of what it could say. It could also say, "Thank you for your submission. We'll get back to you within 24 hours or something like that. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom where it says form settings, you could flick on sticky contacts. So let's say a person who has already filled out the form before goes in to fill out another form, and the platform recognizes their information. It's just going to use that information instantly, which is kind of neat in some instances. If you head over to submissions, you're going to be able to see all the people that have submitted this form. So once your clients and customers start filling out the form, their information is going to pop up in this window right here. And finally, you have the notifications tab where you can flick on email notification or autoresponder systems, where you're going to be able to flick on email notification, basically just notify yourself when someone fills out the form. And you're also going to be able to set up an autoresponder where you're going to be able to send an automated email to the person that has filled out the form. The last thing that you need to know before we proceed to the surveys is that every time someone fills out any form, their information is going to be saved under context that I showed you previously. So regardless of what form it is and how many forms you have, it's all going to store their information under context. And what you can do to differentiate them is that you can apply something called a tag, which I'm going to get into later, so don't worry too much about it now. But for now, just know that that exists. Let's move on to surveys. And to enter the editorial window, you just come up to where it said forms before, and just right next to it, there should be one called surveys. You just want to click on it, and that is going to open up the window where we can build, edit, and change basically our surveys. It's basically the same thing. You just click to where it says add survey. And again, we're going to have the option of starting from scratch, or we can pick a template. And a survey can sometimes take a little bit longer to construct, so it's nice to have the preset actually already in place. So let's say we wanted to set up a survey for a health and wellness business, for example. You can flick this right here, and it's going to display all the different templates that they have available for that. Let's see if we can find one that looks good. All right, this one actually looks pretty good. So you just want to click on, you can click preview if you want to see how it looks before you actually decide to choose it. So you can scroll down and see all these different questions. Click next right here, blah, blah. Okay, looks pretty good. Let's say I wanted to choose this template. I just click the blue button that says exactly that. And it's going to start building this template inside of my sub account. I think I can agree with most people that this looks very, very familiar, right? It's because it's basically the exact same editorial system that we had for the form, but the main difference is what I talked about before, is that a survey often has different pages because it's meant to cover like longer forms, multi-page forms. So the main thing is that you can scroll down and have different pages. So let's say I wanted to add a new page, I can click where it says add slide, and it's actually going to use the template, and we are able to add new elements by clicking this button right here. And that is going to open up this little very recognizable thing because it's the exact same that we had before. Let's say we wanted to claim the city that they're from. You can drag that in. Let's say we wanted to get their website. We could put that right there. But let's say we wanted to get something custom that isn't a template in right here. We can actually drag the one that says single line or multi-line, depending on how long we want their answer to be. If it's single word or single sentence answer, you could often run with the single line. Let's say we wanted to have them explain exactly what their problem is, or if they have any pain somewhere or something. We could have it say, do you have any previous injuries, for example. Then you could have them explain what their previous injuries was. You get the point, right? But that is basically how you can create custom fields. Something that is quite important to mention also is to go up and click the save button every single time you've made a change. Sometimes GoHighLevel won't save these by themselves. And it can be quite annoying if you decide to back out of the site and your changes haven't been saved, that you have to do everything over again. So that is worth mentioning. Again, you're going to be able to click these two lines right here again and change all the different settings and change all the different aesthetic settings right in here. But for now, we're basically just going to leave it as it is. And again, exactly like the form, you're going to be able to see exactly how it looks by clicking the preview button. You can put it onto your website by copying this piece of code right here. You're going to have your settings tab where you can change the text that is going to be displayed after they fill out the form. And you can do the same thing as before by selecting sticky contact so that it's more convenient for people to fill out if you already have some of their information and stuff like that. It's all going to be found under settings. Again, you have your submissions where you can see all the submissions from people that have filled out the survey. And you have the notifications that can do exactly the same thing as before. Also, another thing that can be quite useful, that is the same for the both of them, is that you're going to be able to hover over them and you can check their analytics. So you're going to be able to see how many views, how many responses, the average time a person spends on your form, and all these different metrics are going to all be showed right in here. And yeah, it's the exact same for the surveys as well. Clicking on Analyze, and it's going to show up in here for the survey. Okay, so now you know the difference between a form and a survey and what the two of them actually does. The next thing that we need to do is to build the places where the forms and the surveys are going to live, which is going to be the websites and the funnels. I'm excited for this section, and I think you should be too, so let's get into it. Before we get started with how we can build website and funnels, I quickly just want to spend 1 to 2 minutes explaining how you can do it, because there are actually multiple ways you can do it in GoHighLevel. The first way is that you do it exactly where we built the forms and the surveys before. Under websites and under funnels, you're going to again be able to click new website, create from blank or create from template. Or for the funnels, you're going to be able to create from blank, create from templates, and also build with AI, which is like a beta feature that GoHighLevel has running right now, where an AI is basically going to be able to help you build a form based on the prompt you give it. Those are the default ways, but there is actually another way, which is very similar to the build with AI feature for funnels. And right now, it might not show up for some of you guys. So the way that you do it, it's called AI Studio, and the way that you activate it is that you come to Settings, scroll down to where it says Labs, and then you want to search for AI Studio right up here. You can see it's live in 5 days, so at that point it should be available for everyone. But if it isn't, come here and just flick this switch right here. It's going to activate it in your left-hand sidebar. So if you back out right now, you can see it says AI Studio right here, and keep in mind it is still in beta. When you click on it, it's going to open up a vibe coding dashboard, pretty much like Claude Code or Lovable or some of these other platforms. You're basically just going to be able to describe what you want to build, in this case a website or a funnel, giving a detailed prompt, and it's going to help you build the website. For this video, I'm going to show you how you can build a website with both to cover everything. Keep in mind that it is not free and it is going to be usage based when you use these AI services. Now that you know that, let me start by showing you how you can build a website using the default feature right here. Let me quickly explain to you what the difference actually is between a website and a funnel, because they are very, very similar, exactly like the forms and the surveys were, but there are some differences. A website is basically the place where you're going to store as much information about you that people need to know as possible. To give you an example of this, let me show you our website. So when people search you up on Google, this is where they're going to land. It's where they can read everything about what you do, what your services does, who you help, your story, the About Us section. They can check out the pricing and all these different things, even book meetings as well. This is where they're going to find all the information about you that they need to know. A funnel is different from a website in that only really has one thing that you want the visitor to do. To give you an example of that, I've come to one of our personal funnels for our ad campaigns. And what we're trying to do with this funnel is to quickly give people an overview on how we can help them by calling out the ideal customer profile and easily giving them an option to get started by booking a call with us. This is the one thing that we want people to do when they visit this funnel. Okay, so now that you know what the main difference between a website and a funnel is, let's get into the first way you can actually build these websites and these funnels, which is going to be right here under sites. Okay, so let's start with the websites. And what you do is you head to websites, click new website, and then you have the option to select from blank and from a template, exactly like with the forms and the surveys before. I recommend that you actually start from a template because there are genuinely some pretty good ones inside of here. So just click from templates, click continue. Then you actually have the option to search within the templates. So let's say that you have a car detailing business, for example. You could search for car detailing. And then it's going to show you all the available templates that are going to be related to that topic. So you can see right here, this one looks pretty good. This one is another one that looks pretty good. For now, let's just go with this one right here. If you want to see how it actually looks, you can click preview. It's going to open up the window and then you can see exactly how it's going to look on the live version. And if you want to select this one, just simply click on choose template at the top right corner. Okay, so now we are basically inside of the website editor. And this is the place where we're going to be able to edit and iterate everything on the site. If you go to the top left, you are going to see a little plus icon that says add elements. Click on that and it's going to open this left side menu. Very, very similarly to the forms and the surveys we talked about previously, you're going to have a bunch of different things you can drag and drop onto the website. So let's say you wanted a new headline, you can drag this in and just place it anywhere on the site. And it's going to basically like add that element, right? There are so many different things. You can add buttons, you can add the form that we created previously. I'm going to show you how you can do that in a second. You can add a cart, you can add a search bar, you can add upsell products. Another interesting thing is the pre-built sections, which is a bunch of different sections that are already going to be built and completely finished. Now you know that the left side menu exists, but if you actually click on something, a right side menu is also going to open up, very similarly to the forms and surveys from before. But this is basically where you're going to be able to change stuff like the font size. There is this dragging bar right here. You're going to be able to change the font weight, so how thick the letters are going to appear. You can change the opacity, meaning how visible the letters are going to be, and all these different things. If you head to styles, is where you're going to be able to add padding. So let's say you don't want the text to be clenched all the way out to the side. You can click right here and drag right and left. And as you can see, this is going to determine the placement of the actual headline. It's also on the styles that you can pick stuff like the alignment. You can create shadows for the letters if you want right here. And also it's on the styles that you can actually have something be visible only for desktop version or the phone version. For example, as you can see right here, right now it's currently selected for both. So if I come up here and click the mobile mode, it's going to display the header in here. But let's say I did not want that I just wanted it to go directly to the subheader, for example. I would simply just click on this right here and it's going to disappear, but you can see it's still on the desktop version. This is also one of these things that you're going to be using quite a lot because the formatting is going to be quite different on desktop than it is on mobile. But for the header, we want to keep it. Let's imagine that we wanted to make some of the headline a different color. There's actually a third menu that is going to open up if you do something special. Let's say we wanted to have your car appear in the same red as, for example, this button down here. You can simply just mark the word like this, and this little menu is going to open up. You just click the color, and if you scroll down, there's going to be a little blue piece of text that says add. You can click on that, and then you're actually able to pick a color from the screen if you click this little icon right here. So you can click on that and just drag it up to the button. It just says the color is already in the palette, but if it wasn't, that is how you could do that. And you should simply just want to click on save, and this is going to be the color right here. So as you can see, that just changed only the two of the words. So if you don't want everything to switch colors, you can do it like that. Let's say that we wanted to apply an animation on this headline font right here. You simply just want to click on it. And as you can see, there is a new menu coming up at the top right here that says animations. You want to head into that and click on this entrance animation right here. And there's going to be a bunch of different options, such as fade-ins, fade up, fades down. You can have sliding, bouncing, all these different animations. But in general, the ones that I like the most are fade in or fade up. And also, like the forms and the surveys, don't forget to save every once in a while. You can also apply autosave. If you click on it right here, then it's going to do it by itself. But it's really up to you how you prefer it. Let's talk about the graphics on the website, because those can also be changed. And when I say graphics, I mean stuff like the logo right up here at the top left corner in the navigation menu, and also the image that is used as the background right here. And it's actually super simple to change. All you want to do is, for changing the logo, for example, click in the navigation menu and then scroll a bit down until you see the logo in menu. And right here, you basically just want to click on this right here. And this is going to take you to the media storage that we talked about earlier, basically the place where all your images and media is stored. So if you have something in here, it's going to appear in here, but you can also just click upload file. And then it's just going to have something from your computer. And if you already have made the logo, you can just select it. So let's say I wanted to use this as my logo, for example. I could just upload it by clicking twice. It's going to be uploaded. and then we just basically select it right here and click Insert Media. Just like that. This is now the new logo. It looks pretty terrible, I would say, but you get the point, right? You would basically just change the logo by doing exactly that. Yes, and it's very, very similar if you wanted to change the background here, for example. You just click on it, and as you can see, it says image right here, and you're just going to open up the media storage once again, pick the image and insert it exactly like I just did. Talking about the navigation menu up in the top right here, if you want to change that, it's super simple as well. Just click the box, then you can see the little place here that says menu items. This is where you're going to change everything about the navigation menu. So if you click the three dots right here, you're going to be able to change the title, aka what is going to appear on the page. Then you can select what you want it to do. So when you click on it, what action should happen. Right now it's set to go to page because we want it to go to the home page when someone clicks home, but you could basically have it do everything. Like you could set it to a website URL and have it go to a completely different website if you wanted to do that. At the third option right here, we're going to be able to change which page that we want it to go to when people click on the home navigation menu icon. So right now it's set to home. It could also be pricing. It could also be contact. It could also be testimonials and all these other sites that are already connected to the website. But right now, home is perfect because we want home to go to home, right? So when you're done, just click submit. You're also able to add a new element in the navigation menu just by clicking add item. It's going to open up the window exactly like it was before. We could have it be like reviews, for example. Click go to page, and then we want to select the reviews page that is going to show up right here. We haven't actually made a reviews page yet, so it's not going to show up. But if we had, it's going to show up right here and we can select it, and it's going to appear in the navigation menu exactly like this. The final thing you can do is change the placement of them by just dragging them up and down like this, just in case you want the order to be in a specific way. Then there also are these buttons that are spread out all across the page. And these buttons are basically CTA buttons, meaning that when someone clicks this button, they're going to be taken to the action that you want them to take. That could be, for example, getting a free quote for a project, or in this case, getting a free assessment from the car detailer. If you want to change what a button says, it's very simple. Just click on it, and where it says text, you can just have it say, get a free quote, something like that. You get the point. That is how you change what it's displayed on it. And if you scroll down a little bit, you're also going to be able to change which page is connected to the button. So as you can see right now, it is connected to the book an appointment page, which is exactly what we want. But you could also change that right here if you wanted it to go to the testimonial sections, for example, contact, a bit like before. Or you could also have it, instead of going to a page, you can have it go to a different website URL. You could have it open up a pop-up. You could have it download a file if you wanted that. All these different things are going to be done right here. Then on the final note, you can also change the color by just clicking here and selecting a different color if you want that. You can change the text color, and all these things are all going to be found in here. Now, we created a form earlier, if you remember, that we might want to have on our website. So whenever somebody clicks a button, they should be taken to this form. So what we're going to do is, there's already a book an appointment site on this website. So what we can do is click where it says home. This is going to open up all the current pages that are on the website. And if you wanted to create a new one, you can click add new page, but we want to go to the book an appointment. So we want to click on that. And this is the page that these buttons are going to take the user to. So this is exactly where we want to be able to have our form appear. So it's actually very simple to do that. All you want to do is just hover over this menu and then click the green plus icon right here. This is going to open up the menu that I showed you before. Then you're just going to scroll down until you find the form right here, or alternatively it could also be the survey. It's going to be found a little bit further down right here. What you do is you just drag and drop. This is going to just place this new form on the website. But right now, no form is actually connected to this section. So to do that, you just want to click on it, and then this little window is going to open up where it says select your form. Just click on that. And for what I remember, we called it website form. So we just want to select that. And that is basically it. And it is really that simple. Now the form is exactly on the page where we want it to be. So if you want to see how this looks in the live version, you can click this little eye icon right here. This is going to open the live preview up in a second tab. And this is how it's going to look. The colors don't really add up, but you get the point, right? Now we have the logo that we changed, the new navigation menu, the little image right here, and the new form that we created previously, all put onto the website. The final thing that I want to tell you about before we move on to funnels are these little menus right up here, because they are actually quite important. And I'm just quickly going to go over them one by one so that you know everything you need to know. The first one is the layers. If you have something like a pop-up, you are going to have to instruct the website on what needs to come first. You're not really going to be messing too much with this. It's not that important, but now you know that it exists. The next one is pages, which is basically what I showed you before when we clicked here. This is just going to show you all the different pages that are connected to your website, and you can also create new ones right here. The third one is the tracking code one. To explain what that means, imagine you want to run ads or on Meta, for example, for your business. You want traffic that comes to your website through the ads to be tracked so that you can rerun ads to that same traffic. When you run ads, it's very, very important to expose the same person a bunch of times for the same product. Almost no one is going to buy something from the first time they see an advertisement. But if they see it 20 times, then they might be more likely to buy it because they feel like they are getting familiar with the product, right? I'm getting ahead of myself. Basically, there is something called the tracking code, and that is going to allow you to do that. And that is something that you're able to drop right in here, and it's going to track all the traffic on your website. The next one is the custom CSS, which is basically a place where you're able to add custom code. Then we have typography, and this is where you can change the headline font and the content font on your website. Just instead of having to go through all the different fonts on your website, you can change the headline font and the content font, and it's going to change it everywhere on all your pages. You can also change the color and the link color as well. Then we have the background. This is also not too important, but this is where you can insert a background image if you want. Then we have the pop-up settings, and this is currently set to there being a pop-up that shows up on the site whenever someone has been on the page for X amount of seconds. This is not really something that I like, so if I want to turn that off, I just click this pen icon right here and just click disable pop-up. This is going to stop it from appearing ever again. And the next one is a very, very important one. It's called SEO and AI optimization and AI search optimization. I know you've heard of this before when talking about websites. And to keep it short, what this means is basically how you're going to allow these search engines to find your website. And if you don't do this correctly, it's just not going to show up, or it's not going to prioritize your website. What you can do is that you can fill out all these different elements with information that is going to make it easier for the search engines to find your website. So for example, for content, you could say car detailing in XYZ place, for example. You can add a description on what it is that you exactly do to make it easier for these search engines to find that. You can add keywords, so whenever someone searches for something specific, you could say car detailer, for example, or car wash, stuff like that. You can just go add a bunch of keywords. You can add an author, you can add images, you can put some links and some tags connecting them to the page. You can set the language. It's currently set to English, which is exactly what we want. That is basically the most important thing. So take your time with this and fill out all the information for all the different pages. Then there is one called preview custom codes. It's not important, so I'm just going to skip it. And then we have the cookie consent. And this is basically legal compliance. If you want to collect information about someone that visits your page, you have to let them know that you're doing that through something like cookies. So you can enable that just by flicking this on right here. I've put it the above and click agree. This is going to create a cookie banner right down here below, where people are going to be able to accept all or accept essentials when visiting your page. And all the settings regarding this cookie pop-up you can change right in here under layout and the cookie list also. There is actually one more thing that is quite important that you're also able to iterate. If you back out of your website, remember to save first, you're going to be able to see this right here. First of all, it's going to display all your different pages connected to the website, which we saw before. If you head to stats, you can see all the different stats about your website. So stuff like how many views it has, how many opt-ins it has, if you're having something like a email waitlist, for example, or you can see the sales if you have a shop connected to it, and earnings and all this stuff is all going to show up in here. Then if you click on sales, you can see all the different customer information of the people who has actually bought something on your website. Security and events aren't really too important right now, but if you head to settings is one that is quite important. This is where you can change stuff like the name of the website. Right now it's called auto detailing. We could have it be car detailing pros or something like that. You get the gist, right? Change the name. You can also select the domain here. I'm going to show you how to do that later, but for now, just know that this is a place where you can do that. You can select one if you already have one. And this is also where you can insert or create a favicon, which, to put it simply, is basically just a the image that is beside your tab. So if you look in the top of the Chrome tabs right now, you might see an image besides the text on the Chrome tabs you have open. That is a favicon. So you can change that here by coming over to this image plus icon right there, opening up the media storage, which we are familiar with now, and you can select your favicon image right here. And with that out of the way, that basically covers the basics on how you build websites and funnels inside of the GoHighLevel builder. Now, like I mentioned earlier, there is basically only one real difference between funnels and websites, and that is that in a funnel, you want the person to go from A to C, and in a website, it's basically a little bit just more all over the place where they can flick between the different pages, view your reviews, view your testimonials, all this stuff, going back and forth. But a funnel is really where you want to have the person go from one place to only another place. Let me show you what I mean by creating a random funnel. We could just select from template. Okay, so apart from this page right here, everything else is basically going to be the same. And this was where on the websites that we had, it's just displaying all the different sub pages that were connected to the website. But here it shows the different steps of the funnel. So first we have the opt-in, then we have the order form, for example, in this case. Then we have an upsell link where we want to upsell to a different offer, for example. Then we have a downsell, and then we have a thank you at the end, thanking the person for going through with everything. You can think of it however you want. You can think of it as 5 different pages. But yeah, like I mentioned, this is the only key difference between the funnels and the websites, is that you are having the person go from A to B, and in the website, you have them go all over the place however they like. This is method 1. The first thing you want to do is navigate inside of your GoHighLevel account. And there should be a section called AI Studio right down here. If there isn't, you want to head down to Settings, scroll down until you find Labs. Then you want to search for AI Studio right up here, and you want to toggle this on. If you do that, it's going to appear on your left side. What you then want to do is you want to click on it. This is going to open up a vibe coding dashboard, a little bit like anti-gravity that I showed you in some of the previous videos. Let's say we need to create a website for a plumbing company called New York Plumbers, for example. Then all I'd need to do is say, create me a website for a plumbing company called New York Plumbers, for example. And after that, we need a prompt that is going to be a little bit more specific about how we want the website to be structured and how in general we want the website to be set up. You're going to find the prompt below this video just by clicking on where it says prompts, and it's going to open up a docs document with the whole prompt inside. Simply what you want to do is copy everything and just paste it in below the text that you just put right here. So just paste it like this and click enter. And now GoHighLevel's AI builder is going to start building this website, and it's going to come up with something that in general looks pretty good. It usually takes around 5 to 10 minutes to finish the build. This is what it has come up with. Now, in general, I would say it is looking pretty good. What we always can do is we can ask down here to the bottom left if we want to change anything. So let's say I'm not happy with this image in the background right here. I could say, can you change the image background for the header to something else, for example. And the nice thing is that it, just like Claude, it's just going to go in, understand the request, and then just change it, right? And as you can see, it has now changed the image for this guy instead of the other guy, which I think is better. So that is perfect. Now, the good thing about us building it inside of GoHighLevel is that it's going to be way easier to integrate all of the other systems we're going to build later onto this website. To show you what I mean by that, let's try implementing a form going on the right side of the header right here. So what I'd simply just then do is go down here and then say, please add a form on the right side of the header, for example. It's now going to build the form on the right side right here. Just like this. As you can see, there is now a form on the right side right here. And the great thing about this is that this is already connected to GoHighLevel. As you can see over here to the left, I can just click connect to CRM and it's going to wire everything together. That way, if someone signs up with the form, they're going to be sent into the CRM, the backend. I'm going to cover that in one of the next videos if that sounds like Spanish to you right now. But just know that it's going to be connected, which is a very, very nice and neat thing. Right now, this is a custom made logo and it doesn't really hold any essence, I wouldn't say. So Let's say you wanted to add a logo that you've made for the business or your own business. You would then first of all need to download the logo. So in this case, I'm just going to use this random logo that I found on Google. Just save it on my PC right here. Then you want to head back into GoHighLevel and say, use this logo for the website. And then you want to just attach the image right down here. So let me just find it and just paste that. Now it's going to use this logo instead of the self-made one that it is currently using, which is nice. And just like that, as you can see, it is now using the logo that we selected. So you can also do that for these images. Let's say the business has some images that you want to use instead of these pre-made ones. You'll just give them right down here to the left, exactly like we just did. And it's going to use those images instead of these AI generated placeholders. One of my favorite features about this AI builder is that sometimes you see something that you want to change real quick. Let's say I don't want it to say request service now. I just wanted to say request service. What I'd normally have to do is tell Claude, but inside of the AI builder, I can click where it says visual edits right here, and I can click exactly where I want to change something. So I can click right here, and I can simply just remove the now right there, and I can click save. And instead of the AI having to go in and change this and find it in the code, it's going to do it completely by itself, which is going to make everything a lot faster, and in my opinion, it's an amazing feature. Let's say that I was now completely satisfied with how this website looks, and all I really wanted to do was publishing it. It's very, very simple to do. You just come up to the right side where it says publish right here, click on that, and click the big publish button again right here. Then there's going to be some information. For example, it says New York plumbers, blah, blah, blah. That is basically just the text that is going to be visible at the Chrome tab. And this right here is the favicon, so the logo that's going to be besides the text. I'm just going to use the logo from before. Then it has some recommendation for this right here, some image. I'm not going to touch that. I'm just going to say apply changes. And after that, the website is going to be published. Just like that. As you can see, it now says my app is live. And if I want to view the app on Chrome, I can click this view app button. And this URL right here, everyone is going to be able to access. So that means that this is now essentially live to the public. But for a professional website, you don't want the URL to be newyorkplumbers.vibepreview.com. You want it to be something more professional, like newyorkplumbers.com. You want it to be smooth, clean, and professional. And for that, we can also add our custom domain. So let's say we wanted to do that. We just come back into GoHighLevel, click publish again. And as you can see right now, below the Vibe Preview URL that we currently have, we have the option to add custom domain. Just click on that. Now, this is the part where if you have your own domain already, you want to type it in right here exactly as it is. So let's say your domain is nyplumbers.com. You want to write nyplumbers.com, and you can connect it with GoHighLevel through this interface right here. Just follow exactly what it says. However, if you do not have a domain already, you want to open up a different tab of GoHighLevel. Then you want to head to settings, and you want to head to where it says domains right here. Then you want to click the blue button right here that says purchase domain, and you're going to search for the name that you want. So let's say you wanted the name New York Plumbers, for example. You can do that, search for it, and it's going to give you all the available domain names. I can see it's not available, so what I could do instead is I could type it out. So I could say New York Plumbers, for example. Maybe that is available, but you get the gist, right? You just want to go back and forth until you find something that you are actually happy with. Let's say you found the domain that you're happy with. All you then want to do is head over to where it says buy. Then you can select how many years you want to buy it. So you could set it to 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, however many years you want. I just recommend you set it to 1 year. Then you just want to click on I agree to terms and conditions. And then you just want to pay the amount that you're due, basically. Because this can get a little bit tricky, I've decided to actually buy the domain and show you everything that you need to do to publish your website on this domain. But yeah, once you've bought the domain, and it's finished loading, I just want you to copy the name right here and head back into the AI builder where we were before. You just want to paste it in right here, and you just want to click continue. It just says already authorized via lead connector because we bought the domain over GoHighLevel. It's that simple. You just want to click on add records, and it's going to handle everything by itself. And in the span of maybe 15 minutes, it's going to have the site ready and launched on the domain we just purchased. If it comes up with an error, just press verify again and it's going to work. And if I click on any of these links, it's going to open up the live site on the correct newyorkplumbers.uk domain. Exactly what we want. If it says for you something like error, DNS, it doesn't load or something like that, just know that it's because they haven't connected yet. It takes a few minutes, maybe 10 minutes sometimes, but just be patient and it will work eventually. And just like that, we've built a website from complete scratch using only GoHighLevel's AI Builder function. And that sums up everything regarding the websites and funnels section. The next thing we're going to dive into is how we can build and set up calendars, availability, and get you to start booking some meetings. Everything related to the calendars you're going to find in the left side menu under calendar. And the first thing that you're going to see when this loads up is the calendar view. And when you've set up calendars and people start booking appointments, these appointments are going to show up in this dash right here. Maybe if they don't, you can flick this on where it says calendars and you can select the different calendars that you have available. This is basically like a filter where you can set which calendars you want to display their appointments in this view right here. We're going to talk more about this later. The next thing is the appointment list view. And whenever someone books an appointment, it's going to show up in here as well. And sometimes it's useful to not have the appointments be automatically accepted, for example. You want to manually go through their form submissions and accept the meeting. And this is where you can do that. So when they try to book an appointment, it's going to show up in here and it's maybe set for waiting, and you can set it for valid or invalid, or you can set it as confirmed, you can set it as no-showed if they didn't show up to the meeting. All these different things you're going to be able to do in here. The final one is called calendar settings. And in calendar settings is where we can build and construct our calendars. To create a new calendar, just click on new calendar right here. And you're going to have the new sort of calendar types and the more legacy versions. What I recommend is that you just create one through the personal booking, or let's say you want a one-on-one meeting, I recommend the personal booking. Let's say you want something like a group meeting where, for example, me and my business partner were both to attend the meeting with one prospect. You would select the collective booking. If you want a class booking with one host and a lot of people joining, you could select that. You get the gist right. Whatever the meeting is used for, select that version. But in this case, we already have a calendar. So to edit it, we just click the pen icon that says Edit Calendar. The first window we're going to be taken to is the basic details. And this is the place where we're able to change stuff like the logo, the calendar name, the calendar description, just to show you how that looks. This is the description, this is the title, and if we wanted to have an image, it would show up above the title right here. This is also where we are able to change the custom URL, so we could have it say XYZ company meeting. You could also try to delete that and just say, see if this is available. This is already taken. So we could slash .now, for example. But you get the point, right? You can try and change the custom URL to have it be something that you want it to be. Then you can set a meeting invitee title, which is basically what is going to be displayed if you send a Gmail to them, for example. It's going to say onboarding call between contact name and your business, and is also what is going to be displayed inside of the appointment list that I showed you earlier. And the final thing that we're able to do is change the meeting color. And this is basically just changing the color of the meeting that is displayed inside of your calendar. So inside of the appointment view that we talked about earlier. You can set it to green, you can set it to blue, purple, whatever you like. The next one is the meeting locations tab. And this is where you're going to be able to change where the meeting is going to take place. Right now we are in the events calendar, which is one of the legacy calendars. So Google Meet is not available for this one, which is the one that we are normally using for our meetings. You can see it's available for the phone, it's available for an address, because the events calendar is actually meant for a real life event. You can set it to custom, which is like a little loophole where you can use Google Meet anyways by just putting a link right here to the actual Google Meet. And we also have ask the booker whatever they want if you want that. If you selected one of the calendars that I told you about earlier, you could select Zoom, you could select Google Meet, and you could select Microsoft Teams exactly in the same place right here. The next part is the availability. And this is where you're going to be able to change the when people can actually book meetings inside of this calendar. So the first interesting thing that you can do is you can change the time zone. Right now it's set to America, Los Angeles, but you could also set it to Pacific Midwest, Alaska. You could set it to Europe, for example, Amsterdam, if you want that. Just selecting your time zone that you want it to be. Under that is where you select the hours. Right now it's set to 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., which is the normal working hours, but you could always just change it to start at 10 a.m. or close at 6 p.m., for example, instead. And if you wanted to copy these days to every day, you just click these copy icons right here, click copy to all, click apply, and this is going to set this time range for all the different dates. And let's say you want Sunday and Saturday off, because after all, it is the weekend. You can just click it off right here and right here. And this will only set Monday through Friday to be able to be open for bookings. The next thing is the booking rules tab. And this is where we're going to set some of the different settings for the calendar. For example, we can set the meeting interval, we can set the meeting duration, meaning how long the meeting is going to last. Right now it's set to 45 minutes. You could set it to 30 minutes if you wanted that instead. You could also change the minimum scheduling notice. You could set the date range. So right now it's set to 1 month, meaning the person that views the calendar is going to be able to book 1 month into the future. You can also set pre and post buffer time, meaning how much time you want before and after the meeting is taking place. You can set it to 30 minutes so that you have 30 minutes to prepare and 30 minutes of breathing room before the next meeting can appear. You can set the maximum bookings per day. Right now it's set to 8. So that means there can only be maximum of 8 meetings every single day. You can set maximum bookings per slot. That is just set to 1. Another pretty funny thing is that they have a look busy feature. So if you flick this on, you can set a percentage where the calendar is going to be blocked off so that you look busy in the client's eyes. This is something you can do if you want, but we haven't really used that in our business. So I recommend that you just flick it off, to be fair. Then there also is the advanced settings, which are going to be another thing that is quite important to actually change. Because if we come to form and confirmations, this is where you're going to be able to change the form that is applied for the calendar. And what I mean by that is if we go into the calendar right here, right now, if someone selects a time, a form is going to show up where they have to fill out some of their information. And this is basically how we capture the lead information in order to be able to contact them, which is very, very important. So under forms and confirmations, we can change this form. Let's say we wanted it to be the form that we had from before, right? So we just click right here, select website form. And if we go in right here, the form should now be changed to the new one that we just set, exactly like this. So this is how you can change the form. Another thing that you can do is you can change the actual order it's going to show up for. For example, if you want the form to come before they are able to pick a date, you can do that here. I recommend that you have the date and time selector come first to force some more commitment. The next thing you can do is you can change the confirmation page, aka what is going to happen when someone books a meeting. Right now it's set to default. It's just going to say, congrats, you are booked. We will contact you shortly to confirm your session. If you want, you could also have it to redirect to another page. That is completely up to you. Earlier, we also talked about the meta pixel, which was useful for when you run ads through Meta. If you are running ads and you want to capture information of people that are signing up on this calendar, you can put the metapixel ID right here as well. And this is also one of the things that we talked about the automatically confirming meetings. If you want that to be a thing, you can flick it on right here. If you don't want auto confirm on your meetings, you can flick it off right here. After that, we have payments, and this is where you can take payments for having and hosting these calls. You will have to connect something like Stripe or PayPal to do this. But if you do that, and if you want to take payments for these meetings, you can do it here. After that, we have the notifications and policies tab. And this is like a very, very cool place where you can set up very, very basic notifications for these meetings. There are going to be 4 channels available: email, in-app, which is going to be the mobile app of GoHighLevel, SMS, and WhatsApp. And yeah, this is basically where you can set notifications for yourself and for your client whenever they have booked an appointment and it isn't confirmed, whenever they have booked an appointment and you confirm it, whenever they cancel or you cancel, whenever there is a reschedule. You can set reminders in here, and you can also set follow-ups. So after the meeting has taken place or didn't show up, you can set up a follow-up message. These are very, very basic and they work, don't get me wrong, but you can create some more advanced ones inside of the automations that we're going to cover later. So don't worry too much about these right now. We're going to dive into it later on. Then if you scroll a bit down, you have the additional settings, and this is where you're going to be able to allow rescheduling of a meeting, for example. Let's say that you want to give the person the option to reschedule the meeting from one time to another. You can set the time of when they are able to do that. So we set it to, they can't do it 1 hour before the meeting. Set it as however you want. You can also turn it off if you don't want them to be able to do that. You can do exactly the same thing for cancellation. Then we have the third-party calendar settings. This is basically a place where you can set some meeting invitee notes. Up next, we have the widget appearance. And this is a place where we are able to change something like the calendar cover image. We can change the calendar widget style. Right now it's set to Neo. You could set it to Classic. I wouldn't recommend doing that because Classic is going to limit some of your customization settings and things that you're able to do. So I would recommend keeping it in Neo. And below that is where we are able to change something like the primary color and the background color. Let's say we don't want it to be black. We could drag it up to red, for example. Click Save Changes. And if we come into the calendar, now the color will be red instead of the previous black, which is kind of cool. You can also change what the button says. Right now it says schedule meeting. You could also just have it say schedule, but that's where you do this. You can flick on and off. If you want the calendar title to be visible, you can turn on and off the calendar description, and you can do the same for calendar details. The final thing is that you are able to connect a calendar. I'm going to show you how to do that in a sec with a more specific guide, but you can link it to a calendar right here if you have that connected. Also, you can change the sync options. There are going to be 3 different ones, and it basically just covers how the GoHighLevel calendar that we're creating right now is going to sync with your personal calendar that we're going to connect it with in just a second. I just recommend that you use the one-way sync, which is also the one that is recommended. It's just going to, whenever someone books a meeting through GoHighLevel, going to sync it with your calendar. And that is basically it for all the different customizations you can do for this calendar event. Another thing that is pretty cool that you can do inside of the calendar is if you come to this arrow right here, you're going to have a bunch of different options on how you can share your calendar. For example, you can provide someone with your calendar link by giving them this permanent link right here, sending it to them. That's going to give them a link that is going to open up this calendar page right here. You can also give them a one-time link, which can be useful sometimes if you only want to have a link that is accessible one time, meaning there is only going to be one booking allowed per link. You can do that there. You can also generate a new link whenever you want. And the final thing that you can do is that you can have the embed code. Because let's say you're not building your website inside of GoHighLevel. You are still going to be able to use your calendar from GoHighLevel on that website by taking this HTML code right here. And this is honestly one of the best things, because let's say you're building your website through Claude Code, for example, or you're using Lovable. You can give it this code and it can implement your calendar on the website just by providing it this. So the way that it would work is you just copy this right here, paste it into your preferred platform and just tell it something like, put this calendar embed on my website. And the AI model is going to do that for you. And even simpler, let's say you have built your website on GoHighLevel like we did previously in this guide, you can actually also place this calendar onto the website exactly like we did with the forms. Just by coming into the website, we're going to the book and appointments page right here. And right now it's already selected, but if you click on it right here, you're going to be able to change the selected calendar. So you can just select your calendar right there. You can see that everything is working. The calendar is implemented nicely onto the website. They can pick a time, they can fill out the form, and they can schedule the meeting exactly like we want. And that is almost it for all you need to know about the calendars tab and how we build calendars and start using them on your website. But there are a couple of different more menus that are actually quite important. So let's start with the preferences one. This is where you're going to be able to change the basic settings about your calendar. So let's, for example, say you want the week to start on Monday. That is pretty normal in Denmark, for example. Right now it's set to Sunday, but you could change it to Monday if you wanted. You can change the language of the calendar. For example, right now it's set to English. I could set it to Danish, Dutch, Finnish, whatever I want. Another thing that is pretty cool that you can change is the time format. Right now it's being displayed in PM, as you can see from right here. But you could set that to the normal format, which is going to be the 24-hour clock format. The next thing that we can set is the availability, specifically for different clients that we have inside of the sub account. And this requires some context because when you have created a sub account, you can actually invite your clients to that sub account, which are then going to be able to see what's going on inside of the sub account. And this is a very, very cool thing. And I quickly want to show you how you can do that. So everything regarding inviting people to your sub account is going to happen under the tab that's called My Staff. Okay, so right now, as you can see, it's only me that is invited to the sub account, and I am set to as an account user, which is something that I could easily change by clicking this pen icon and changing my own permission to an admin right here, for example. Let's say you wanted to add your client to the sub account. You can do that by clicking add user right here, fill out their information like their first name, their last name, phone number, their email that you would like the invite to be sent to. And you can also change the different roles and permission that person is going to be able to have inside of the sub account. So what you can do is you can flick on and off all these different things right here. And this is going to determine what they are able to see in the left side menu right here. You are still going to be able to see everything, but your client is only going to be able to see what you decide they should be able to see. When you've invited your client to your sub account is when you can change their availability inside of the GoHighLevel app. To give you an example, I'm just going to use myself. I can set my time zone for myself. Let's say you have a client that is overseas. You can set the time zone so that it fits them perfectly. You can choose the calendar that it's linked to. For example, right now you can see it's set to my personal calendar. And also in here, you're able to change the time zones that are available for me. For example, in Denmark, it's quite normal that a normal workday is from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. So we could set it to that instead of the 8 to 5 right here. And we're just going to apply this to all the days right here. Perfect. And click Save Changes. Now we have set the clients, or myself in this scenario, their availability for when people are able to book meetings with them. The final thing that we need to take a look at is the Connections tab, because this is where we can connect our real calendars that we are currently using to GoHighLevel. And the first thing that we want to do is select the client as before, click Add New, and then we have 4 different options. You're going to be able to link your Google Calendar. You're going to be able to link your Outlook calendar. You're going to be able to link your iCloud calendar if you're on Mac. And you can also link Calendly if that is something that you're using. In my case, I'm using Google Calendar. So to connect it, I just click the blue connect button. Then you just want to connect with your preferred email. And just like that, it should be connected. And now everything is going to be linked whenever someone books a meeting. And I'm going to show you that in a second. And if you're having a client that you need to do this for, I recommend that you sit down with them on a call and walk them through the process of exactly what you did. So on the final note here, I've just shown you everything that you need to iterate and can change. Now I'm going to quickly show you what happens whenever someone actually books a meeting with you. So let's say that I just wanted to book this 4:30 a.m. slot. Just fill out some test information right here, blah, 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 blah. Now that I'm booking a meeting, as you can see, this is how it's going to look for all the different clients that book meetings through your calendar right here. Now, this is the page that your clients that book through your calendar are going to see. They are going to instantly have the availability to put it inside of their own calendar by clicking on Google Calendar. They can also do that for Outlook, and they can also do that for iCloud. And as you can see, if we come into the calendar view and just quickly switch on the onboarding call right here, the new appointment that was booked is going to be laying right in here. And if we come into appointment list, like I showed you previously, the appointment is going to be showing up right here. Right now it's set to confirmed, but if you want to change the status, you can change it to showed, no showed if it didn't show up. You can set it to canceled if they canceled. It's going to do this automatically if they cancel, by the way. And you can also set it to invalid if you think that the information that they signed up with doesn't really qualify for a client of yours. So, and also if you come to the right side right here and click these buttons, click view details, you're going to be able to find a bunch of different information about the meeting. So you're going to be able to see who's going to attend the meeting. You're going to be able to see the form submission, aka the information that they filled out. So their first name, last name, organization, phone number, email. You're also going to be able to see the time zone. Right now I'm in Asia, so it's set to Asia. You can see the source, the meeting that they booked, and a bunch of different stuff. You're also going to be able to see if they paid or not, but we did not set this up, so it's not going to show anything there. Then if you have any internal notes that you've put, you can see them here as well. And finally, we have an activity log, which is not something that I really have used, but it's just a place where all the different activities regarding this meeting is going to be logged. So whenever something new happens, it's going to show up in here. And one of the coolest things is that whenever someone books a meeting through your GoHighLevel calendars, that person is going to show up inside of the Contacts tab. And this is also the next thing that we're going to cover. So let's get into it. Okay, so like we talked about in the beginning of this guide, GoHighLevel is a CRM, which means a customer relations management platform. And a big part of that is actually having a place to store all your customer information. And that is exactly what the Contacts tab is. A large place where you're going to be able to manage all your customer information, such as their name, their phone number, their email, their business name, when the contact were created, and a lot of different stuff. Inside of this smart list window right here, there are a few things that we can do, such as importing new customers. Let's say you are switching over from an old CRM like HubSpot, for example. You can take all your leads and import them into GoHighLevel. And the way that works is that you basically just want to click on import and go through the steps right here. Another thing that you can do is you can add new contacts by clicking on add contact and filling out their information if you are having it on a paper list, for example, you could do that here. You're also able to export all your contacts, so you just go through the steps right there. Further than that, you're also able to search for contacts. Let's say you have some contacts that are tagged. I'm going to get into what that means later. For example, follow-up, as we see right here. If we search for that up here, it's only going to display the contacts that are tagged with follow-up. You can also click the field that says manage fields right here. And in there, you're able to change which things you want to be able to see. So let's say you don't want to be able to see the business name necessarily. You can flick that off. And as you can see, it's going to be removed from this layout right here. For now, I'm just going to discard changes because I don't want to do that. And you can also add new things in here. If you ever want to edit the information of your contacts, it's very, very simple to do so. You just click on their name, for example, or their phone number, it doesn't really matter. And it's going to open up this window where you're able to see all the information in a very, very structured way. And it's then going to open up this window where you're going to be able to change all these things by going under the contact here, for example. You can see their name. We could change it to test2, for example, by clicking save right there. You could change their last name, email, phone number, date of birth, all these different things. Further than that, you are also able to see all your guys' different chat logs that you've had. When you click on the contact, it's going to show up in the middle window right here. For this test contact, there is nothing right now except for the meeting that we booked earlier. So that shows up right here. And also all the different activities from the contact is going to show up in the right side right here. We can see the contact has been created, an appointment has been booked, the appointment form has been submitted, page visited. All these different activities are going to show up in the right side right here for the contact. And apart from the activity dashboard on the right side right here, you're also going to be able to see stuff like their opportunity status in their pipelines. I'm going to be covering what that means in just a second. Your tasks and your notes can you also view for the contact right over here on the right side. That would be stuff like if you give yourself a task, it could be follow up with this person, or this person was unhappy, give them a call back. And notes can be everything, just notes to yourself really. Then we can also check their appointments, which appointments you've had with the person. And also we can also see that in the middle right here. And then you are also able to see if they have gone through any payments, if you've connected PayPal to your GoHighLevel account. It's really important that you understand that each of these fields have like their own custom value that we can use to automate things in the future. So they have like their own, you could say, code word. So for example, this one, first name, would be contact first name. And every time you write that in an automation, for example, it's going to use the name that is set to that contact. So it's very important that you understand these custom fields are bound to the contact themselves. So if we want to automate things, it's important that we have the information saved under these contact fields. Another thing that is really quite cool is that you're actually able to deselect and select each contact right here in the side, and you're able to do a bunch of different things with them. For example, you can export these four as a CSV file by clicking export. You can also trigger an automation with these contacts that would be useful. For example, if you're trying to do something like lead reactivation for a bunch of old leads, you can do that by selecting them all and trigger the lead reactivation automation with these contacts. You can send an email to all these contacts. You can add a tag to all these contacts, and you can delete all these contacts and a bunch of other things that are all going to be showing up right here. Let's imagine that we wanted to trigger an automation with these contacts. All you'd want to do is just click on trigger automation, and this little window is going to open up where you can give it a name like lead reactivation. And you can select the desired workflow. We don't have it right now, but we've created, and I'm going to show you how you create these workflows later. And you just select it, choose either send all at once, send at a scheduled time, or send in drip mode, for example. And then you just add them to automation, and all these contacts are going to be bundled up and sent through the workflow that we've selected. Once you start setting these things up, you can see them and manage them under bulk actions. Now, sometimes you're going to be in a situation where you need to create your own custom field. Because let's say you're working with something very, very niche, like a plastic bottle supplier, for example. And you need to have a field that lets the person inside of your form tell you how many bottles they export per week. GoHighLevel is not going to have a field that is going to be able to do that for you. So that is why you are always able to create your own fields. And the way that you do that is you come up to this gear icon right here, and that's going to take you to the custom fields tab. You're just going to select, for example, single line. You could set it to contact so that it's bound to the contact. You could enter the name. We could call it bottles exported per week, for example. And for the folder name, we could just save it under the contact. We're also able to create a description for ourselves if we want to do that. That way it might be easier to determine what it means in the future if we forget. For now, I'm just going to leave this empty. And the placeholder text, if left empty, it's just going to use what you've already put right here. So I'm just going to keep it empty and click create custom field. And just like that, as you can see, now we have a new custom field that is called bottles exported per week. And if we go back into the contacts tab and go under each of these contacts, it's going to show up under them. And if we then head into this contact right here and open up the contacts field right here, you will see that the new custom field that we have created is going to be displayed at the bottom right here. And we could put it to something like 500 if that was the number, for example. Now this section for contacts really covers a lot, and it's a very, very good hub to store all of your information. But where it's lacking is managing exactly how far you are in a process with a client. And that is exactly what the opportunities tab is going to cover for you. And the opportunity tab is actually very, very straightforward. The first thing that you're going to see is one of your pipelines. Right now it's set to the marketing pipeline, but up here you can change it for the client funnel if you want that, client onboarding, whatever funnel you might want it to be. But the marketing pipeline is fine for this example. What you're looking at is that you're having a bunch of different categories, also known as a pipeline. And a pipeline is just an easy way for you to manage how far you are with a lead in a process. So let's say it's a completely new lead, like this example with Taylor Reynolds here. It's a completely new lead. Let's say that you call them and get in contact with them. You can then move that lead over to contacts. Let's say that you on that call determine that that lead is actually very, very qualified. You move them over to qualified. Let's say they push back a little bit on the price and they don't really want to do it, so you have to negotiate a little bit with them. You move them to a negotiation process. And then in the end, you end up closing them. You move them to closed. You get the point, right? It's a way for you to manage how far you are with a client, because when you scale, that is a very, very important thing. Because if you don't do this, it's extremely hard to remember how far you are with a prospect or a client. If you wanted to add a new opportunity, you just click on the blue button that says so right in the top right corner. And then you can actually just select the contact if you have them registered under contacts already. Let's say we wanted to do it with the test contact from before. We just do that right there. And it automatically imports their Gmail, their phone number, their name. And it says right here which pipeline we're in right now, which was the marketing pipeline. For the stage, it's set to new lead. Let's say we didn't want it to be a new lead. We've already discussed with them, so they are already qualified. We move them to qualified. We can set their value. So let's say the potential value would be $1,000. You can set that there. Then there's something called status. And for the most part, you can just set them to open when you register them. And you also have the option to set them to lost. I would do this if you've lost the lead. You can set them to 1 if you've won them over, close them, whatever. Then you have abandon. And that is like, abandon ship. Maybe a little bit the same as lost. You can assign an owner. So I'm going to assign myself. And then, it's going to display the business name. You can see which source they came from, which was the onboarding call, which is kind of a cool feature. And then you can also add the tags at the bottom right here. Once you're done, just click create. And it's going to add this contact to the pipeline that we just looked at. And just like that, as you can see, we now have the new contact under qualified, which we can freely move around just exactly like I showed you before. Another thing that is really quite cool is that you're able to check your call history, your conversations, the tags, the notes, all directly from the opportunities tab right here, but just by clicking these little icons at the bottom. If you head to where it says pipelines, you can actually create a new pipeline. Right now, it's displaying all the current pipelines that we have, but we could also just create a completely new one by clicking this blue button right here. We could call it something like partnership pipeline or something like that. This we're just not going to touch. And down here, we can change the different stages. So we can have a new lead. We can have, for example, call 1. Let's say it was a 3-call process, so we have call 2. We can have call 3. Then we can add a new stage by clicking add new stage right here. We can say if we closed them, we can have one that says closed, and we can have one that says fumbled if we did not end up working with them. Let's say this was the pipeline. We just click on the blue button that says create. And now we're going to have a new pipeline that is called partnership pipeline, which we can then head back into opportunities, open up by clicking here, and selecting it at the bottom right there, and adding new opportunities to this new pipeline. Now, there are only a few things that we need to cover now before we head into the whole automation process of things, which I think is the exciting part. But it's really important that we understand the fundamentals and understand all these different, I guess you could say, technical things before we dive into that, because that is going to make the automation process a whole lot easier to understand. So without further ado, let's just knock these final sections out. Throughout this video, you might have heard me mention something called tags. And tags is a very, very cool thing. What they allow us to do is put very, very niche specific filters onto a contact, which can be very, very useful when we automate stuff. As you can see right here, I have a bunch of different tags. There's one called detailer. There is one called FB lead, for example, hot lead, IG in-house. To give you an example, let's say we were running an ad campaign on Meta. We can then set up an automation that every time a person fills out a form from our ads, they are going to be tagged with FB lead. That way we know that that person has come from Facebook from our advertising. And then to see that, we could then go back into our contacts tab, and that person will then be labeled at the right side. And that person is then going to be labeled at the right side here where it says tags, with that exact tag. That way making it very, very easy for us to figure out exactly where they came from, and also making it easier for us to make automations that are niche specific to people with that tag in the future. If we want to add a new tag, we can also just click on the contact, and where it says tags, you're just going to click the plus icon, and you can either select one that you already have, or you could say like Google Ads, for example, and create a new one and label them with that so that you know that this lead came from Google Ads. Just click apply, and the tag is going to be applied to the contact. It's also worth noting that you can have more than one tag per person. So let's say I wanted them to be Google Ads, but they are also a detailer. So I can add that tag as well. And they're now both, they came from Google Ads and they are a detailer. If you're still a bit confused at this point, it's going to make a whole lot more sense once we get into the automations part. Just know that it exists. With that being said, let's now head into the next things that we need to cover before we can start with the automations. The final thing that we need to cover before we move into the workflows and automations is the part that is called custom values. And you might be wondering, what is the difference between custom fields and custom values? And to be fair, it is a very great question because they are very similar. But the main difference is that a custom field is going to be different from all the different contexts that you have inside of your sub account, and a custom value is going to be specific to the sub account. An example for a custom field would be the plastic bottle example that we had earlier, where it is specific to each contact how many plastic bottles they export. But for the custom value, it would be something like the business name, where let's say our business name was Loopy AI, we would set the custom value as Loopy AI, and every time we put this custom value key in a context, it's going to use our business name as Loopy AI. So to sum it up, custom fields are specific to the individual contacts inside of your contacts section, and the custom values are specific to your sub account, meaning the sub accounts that you have up here to the left. So what you'd want to do is you could say, okay, we have the business name right here. Let's give that a value. So you could say, okay, the name is the business name. The value could be my new business, for example. And now every time you use this key in a context, in an automation, in a chat log, it's going to display my new business exactly like it's put right here. You can also create a new custom value by clicking add custom value at the top right here. For example, you could say business telephone, and you could enter the value as +1, blah, 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 whatever. You get the point, right? Click create. And now whenever you put this key right here, it's going to display this number exactly like I told you before. To give you a live example on exactly how this works in practice, I have come into the website that we were building earlier to show you how it works. So let's say we wanted to display the phone number down here at the bottom. Then you can mark this right here, and you can click this little box with a line through it right here. This is going to open up a window. And if you scroll down, there's one that's called custom values. You can click that right there. And then we can find the business telephone that we created earlier. If we click that right now, it's going to use this custom value right here. And if I click save and I preview this in a live view, when we scroll all the way down to the bottom, we are going to see that it has used our phone number that we set before, which is exactly what we want. So that is how these custom values work in practice. And it's going to be very, very similar for the custom fields as well. Now that we know what custom values are, I think it's time to get into the workflows and automations. I'm excited for this, so let's get into it. It is now time that we start digging into the most fun part, which is going to be the automation and the workflows. Workflows and automations are genuinely the main reason that we are using GoHighLevel over any other CRM platform, because it really is the main thing that separates it and makes it that much better. And all the things that we've covered previously, such as the contexts, the opportunities and pipelines, the tags, and the different custom values and fields, all lead up to this right here. So with that being said, let's get into it. And let me start by explaining what we are looking at right here. When you click on automations, you are going to be able to see the workflow lists with all your different folders and workflows being displayed right here. Right now, I have organized all your guys' sub accounts so that some of the workflows that the sub accounts come with are going to be organized inside of some different folders. If you want to create a new folder, you can do exactly that by clicking create folder right here. Or if you want to create a workflow, you can click this blue button right here. And just to quickly show you how you navigate inside of this workflow list, you can just click a folder like any other folder system, open that folder and show the workflows that are inside, or in this case, a subfolder that you can then click on, and then it's going to reveal the actual workflow right in here, which you can then go and preview or rename or do all these things, which you can then go edit, rename, draft, move to another folder, duplicate, or even delete if you want that. When we want to build a new workflow, like I mentioned, you just want to click on the blue button right here, and you're going to have a bunch of different options. We can either start from scratch, we can build using AI, which was what I just told you about, and then we can also select from a template. And some of these templates can actually be quite cool. So if you open it up, you're going to be able to see the templates that GoHighLevel provides by default. As you will be able to see in here, there are a bunch of different templates, such as Google Form email automations, create a Google contact. You have stuff like list reactivation, and all these different templates that are basically just workflows that are already pre-created for you. But for this guide, I really want you to learn exactly what it is that you're doing. So for that reason, I want to be building these workflows from scratch. So we're going to select that. When we click that, we are going to be taken to this page right here. And this is how the workflow builder is going to look. The first thing that you might want to do is to rename the workflow just so we're able to easily identify it. The next thing that then jumps at you is this AI builder interface right here. And this is basically what I mentioned before, where we can have AI help us with building various workflows. It is basically just an AI that is trained on GoHighLevel's workflow builder systems. And this can be very, very useful if you're just starting out with building these workflows. But like I mentioned, I really want you to nail the basics down in this video. So we're not going to be using this. But yeah, you can keep this in mind and you can use it if you want in the future. But for this video, we're going to be doing it manually. Before we get started with building our first test workflow, I think it's pretty important that I quickly just explain to you what makes an actual workflow, because a workflow is made up of 3 different components. First of all, you're going to have your trigger, and a trigger, to put it simply, is basically just what's going to determine what is going to start the workflow. So let's say you have a workflow that is going to send out an SMS whenever someone books an appointment. The trigger would be when that person books an appointment, it's going to start the workflow. The nodes are going to be everything after the trigger and up until the ending of the workflow. So everything that is going to happen inside of the workflow is going to be called a node. So like I mentioned, if the trigger is them booking an appointment, an example of a node would be you sending out an SMS reminder, or you sending out an SMS confirmation or email confirmation, or registering them as an opportunity inside of your pipeline. That would all be nodes. The final thing you have is you have your ending, and that is pretty self-explanatory. That is just the absolute final part that is going to determine when the workflow is going to end. I want you to keep these 3 components in mind because these are going to be the cornerstones of every single workflow. Now that you understand the basics of what a workflow is made up of, I think it's time that we jump into building our first workflow. The first thing that we need to determine is the trigger. And it's very, very simple to do. You just click where it says add new trigger, and GoHighLevel is going to give you all these different options to what the trigger should be. You can set it to respond to WhatsApp ads whenever a contact has been created, whenever a tag is applied. You could also go down to events and set it to whenever a customer has replied to your message on a platform like SMS, but it could also be on TikTok, Facebook, or Instagram. Then you can also have triggers that are determined by appointments. For example, if a customer has booked an appointment, you can have it triggered by that. Then they also have stuff like affiliate, courses, payments, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. But the ones that you're going to be using the most are the ones that I just went over. For this video, let's say that we wanted to build a meeting confirmation and reminder system that is going to trigger every single time someone books an appointment. For that, we should scroll up and find where it said appointments, and we should have the trigger be customer booked appointment. And you're going to have some things that you're able to change inside of this little menu right here. The first thing that you can do is that you can change the name of the trigger. So best practices is going to be that you name your notes and your triggers something so that you can easily understand what they do in the future. The next thing that you can do is that you can change who should be enrolled into this workflow. And since we want to be contacting our new contacts that book an appointment through our booking calendar on our website, for example, we set it to contact only. The final thing that we can do is that we can add filters. So if we click on this, it's actually going to open up a little bit more right here. And what the filters allow us to do is that we can narrow down even further when the trigger should trigger. So for example, if we want it to be with a contact that has a specific tag, or we want it to be in a specific calendar, for example, we could select my onboarding calendar. Now, if we save, the trigger is going to be created, and it's only going to trigger when someone books a meeting through the onboarding call calendar, which were the one that we set up on the website earlier. So if someone booked a meeting in a different calendar, this trigger would not trigger right now. Another thing that we can do when we have created our trigger is that we can actually have multiple triggers for a workflow. We could also have a trigger, for example, when somebody has their birthday, we could do that as well. Then we're going to have 2 triggers, and we can even have a 3rd, 4th, 5th, basically unlimited. But for this workflow, I really only want to have 1, so I'm going to delete this one right here. Now that we have the trigger configured completely, it's time to move into the notes. Let's say someone has booked a meeting through our onboarding call calendar. We'd want to send them a confirmation email as well as a confirmation SMS. So what you'd want to do is click this plus right here, and then you can search for SMS and pick the one that says send SMS. And that is going to open up this window right here, where we can change the action name, and we can also configure the actual message down here. The first thing that I want to do is I want to rename it to something like SMS confirmation 1, for example. And for example, we could have the message say, hey, and then we want to use the custom fields so that it's actually going to go into the CRM and grab the contact's first name, for example. So the way that we do that is we click this custom values thing right here. We go into contact, and we go into first name right here. When you click on that, it's going to insert the custom field right here. Then we could have it say, I saw you just booked an appointment. I am thrilled to have a chat with you on. And then we could head back into the custom values. And since the trigger has been set to a customer booked an appointment, we can actually head into appointments and grab the one that is going to say start time. And when we select that, now GoHighLevel is going to display the time that this person has booked the meeting for, which is absolutely perfect. So this could be an example of a confirmation SMS. And when we are happy with it, we can just click Save Action. And as you can see, now we have successfully created our first note inside of this workflow. Apart from an SMS, I also want to send an email. So for that, we could click on the plus icon. We could write email right here. Then you want to choose the one that is going to say send email. And it's basically going to be the same thing. If you want, you can write the name who the email is going to be from. If you don't, it's just going to be sent using the default values, which is also fine. The same goes for the email address. You'd want to create a subject, so you could say, thanks for booking the meeting. Then we could use the custom field again, first name right there. If you come down further, you can write the message. You can again just have it say, I saw you booked a meeting with us. Can't wait for our chat. Appointment, start date, time, kind regards. And then put your name, or you could use a custom value for your business that we set earlier, for example. And that is basically it. Just click Save Action. And now we both have a SMS confirmation 1 and an email. Now we have covered the SMS and email to the person that has booked the meeting, but sometimes it can also be valuable that we give ourselves a notification. To do that, we click the plus again right here, and then search up internal, send internal notification. This is the node that is going to allow us to send a notification to ourselves. And we're going to have a bunch of different options. We can do this through email. We can do this through notification, which is going to be over the mobile app that GoHighLevel has created, which I'm going to cover later in this guide. You could also have it be done over SMS, which I don't really recommend because that is the most expensive feature. And then you also have WhatsApp. For now, let's just set it up to email. Again, we can choose which name it should be from. If we don't, it's just going to be using the default value, which is fine. We can set the email and we can create the subject. We could have it say something like, the contact's full name has booked a meeting with us. And for the message, we could have it say something simple, just again, because it is just a notification to ourselves so that we are aware. Contact name has booked a meeting. The final thing that we need to do inside of this editorial menu is that we have to select the user type. So that basically means who are we going to send this notification to? We can do it to all users in the sub account. We can assign it to owners. We can assign it to a particular user, or we can assign it to a custom email. For now, let's just set it to a particular user and just select myself right here. Perfect. Once we're done, just click Save Action, and that is going to be it. Now, with this alone, I will say that we are pretty covered regarding sending out confirmations to both the client and also ourselves. But something that can be very, very useful to have is setting up reminders to the actual meeting. Because in the real world, some people are just going to forget your meeting. So for that reason, it can be useful to set up reminder systems. The way that we do that is that we again click on the plus right here. Then we can search for the wait node. And the wait node is basically just a node that covers everything regarding waiting until a certain point. And there are different ways we can define when that point should be. For example, we can wait until a scheduled date time. We can wait for a set period of time. We can wait until a specific date time. We can wait until a recurring window opens. Wait until the contact replies. Wait until the contact takes a specific action. And wait until specific conditions are met. For this one right here, we want to wait until a scheduled date time. Then we just want to set it to appointment calendar event. If we come down further, when should the contact proceed? And we want to set it maybe an hour before the meeting. That way, these reminders are going to be sent out 1 hour before they have to show up to the meeting. Just click Save Action. We could rename this action, wait 1 hour before the call, for example, or something like that. And then finally, you also want to set it to, if this date has already passed, continue to next action. And now we need to send them another SMS message. We don't need the email in this case because very rarely is a person going to see their email 1 hour before they have to attend the meeting. So an SMS will do. And the best way to do this, the fastest way as possible, is to click these 3 lines right here and click Copy Action. This will allow us to just copy and paste this exact action below this wait node right here. And we can easily go in, change the name to SMS Reminder 1. And we can also change the message to say something like, hi, still contact first name. Just wanted to remind you about our chat in 1 hour. Can't wait to meet you. Smiley face. We click Save Action. And just like that, we have our first SMS reminder that is going to be sent out 1 hour before the call. What we have built up until this point is already insanely valuable, and believe it or not, a lot of businesses don't even have these basic systems implemented. And this is just a must-have thing, because a simple workflow automation like this one is going to increase your show-up rate a lot. Let's say we wanted to add another thing onto this workflow, that after the meeting we will send out an SMS asking them for a Google review. That is also something that is going to be valuable for basically all businesses, because it's just going to farm Google reviews on complete autopilot. The best way that we can do this is to use something called logic. And before you go crazy because you don't know what that means, it is actually very, very simple. You see, right now we only really have one path of execution, but logic basically just takes that and splits it into 2, 3, 4, 5 rows, depending on whatever happened. To give you an example of what that would mean, we could set up a system that only sends out our Google review link to people that were actually satisfied with the service, and people that weren't satisfied with the service, we could set up a system where we have them fill out a form, for example, where they explain what went wrong so we can fix it for the future. So the way that we would set up a system like this is that we would choose a wait node again and set it to until a scheduled date and time, exactly like before. But instead of before right here, we're going to set it to after 1 hour. The way that we would do this is that we would have a new wait node exactly like the one before, but the only difference would be we have it an hour after instead of before. So to make it as simple as possible, we can copy the one from above, go in and change it and set it to after instead of before. And also rename it to after the call right here. We can click save, and then we would need to have a new SMS message. So we're going to do the exact same thing again by copying this one right here, clicking this new one right there. We could call it SMS review request, for example. Hey, contact first name. We were happy to see you today, for example. Please, if you don't mind, could you rate our performance from 1 to 5? Thanks in advance. Smiley face or something to make it seem human. Click save. Then we need to create a new wait node. But this time, instead of having it be until a scheduled date and time, we want to set it to until the contact replies. So click on that, and then you want to select the step that is, in this case, SMS review request 1, aka the SMS message that is asking them for the 1 to 5 rating. So let's select this one. We can also rename it. So wait until the contact responds with 1 to 5, for example. And now it's time to set up the condition that is going to split up the workflow based on if they give us a rating that is high or a rating that is low. So to do that, we click the plus icon, we search for if else, and we select this internal component right here, which we could in turn name positive/negative, for example. We can then come down to the branches. We can then come into this field right here, select the one that's called contact reply, and select the one that says reply to message. Then we can, under select operator, set it to contains, and we could put the number 5, because if the person rates us 4 or 5 stars, we want to be able to send them our Google review link. So to both have 5 and 4, you can come down to where it says and, switch it to or, click the plus right here, and do the exact same thing where we set the replied message contains 4 this time. Perfect. Just click save action. And now if they send a SMS message back that contains either a 5 or a 4, it's going to go down this branch right here. And if it contains anything else, I hated the service, or 1, 2, or 3, it is going to go down this branch right here. The final thing that we can do is that we can also rename the branch to positive, for example. Then it's going to be called positive right here. And we can do the same thing for the other one, which is just going to be negative, for example. So now if they put a 5 or a 4 in their message, we could send them an SMS where we're going to send them our Google review link. So we could call it send Google review and just have the message say, we really are stoked to hear that, exclamation mark. If you don't mind, we would really appreciate a Google review. Helps us out more than you can imagine. Here is the link, for example, and then you paste your Google review link right here. Now we have a workflow that is going to send out a confirmation over SMS, email, and to ourselves whenever someone books a call in the calendar onboarding call. 1 hour before the meeting is going to take place, we're going to send an SMS reminder to the person who has booked the meeting. And an hour after the call, we're going to send out an SMS review request to the person to hear how their experience was. If that person had a good experience and replies with either a 4 or a 5, we're going to send them our Google review link in an SMS message. And if they don't, we're going to end the workflow, or alternatively create a node that is going to ask them to fill out a form on what went wrong. That way we can nurture and make sure that our leads that had a bad experience feel heard, and we can use that feedback to improve our service. And if you wanted to create something like that, I would just have the SMS node again and just include in the message that you're sorry to hear what happened, and you'd greatly appreciate it if they took their time to fill out this 4 or 5 question form so that you can make sure that this never happens again and take care of the problem for them. And yeah, then I'd of course just include the link to a Google form or whatever you want to use inside of that SMS message. Now we have built out a super valuable workflow, and that really only took like 30 minutes, right? But now I want to cover some of the other things that you're able to access inside of this workflow builder. The first thing to point out is that this is the default view that we are in right now, but that can also be changed to the advanced builder. I don't personally use this, but if you are used to something like N8N or Make, this setup might be more familiar to you because it's going to look a lot like how it looks inside of Make or inside of something like N8N. So you can do that if you want. It's going to function the exact same. It's just a different look. So for now, let's keep it in standard builder. Then what you're able to see is there are 4 menus at the top right here. We have the builder, which is the one that we are in right now. Then we have the settings, which are some of the workflow settings you're able to change in here. You can change stuff like allow re-entry. So let's say you don't want a contact to be able to re-enter the same workflow. For this specific workflow, we want to keep that on because if they book a meeting in the future, we want this workflow to trigger as well. Then you can change something like allow multiple opportunities. Basically, if you want to allow a contact with multiple opportunity statuses to enter this workflow. You can also set it to stop on response. So let's say you have a specific workflow that you don't want to continue if someone replies to you. You can switch this on, and if someone replies, it's going to stop everything and pause the workflow. Then under communication, you can change the time zone of the workflow. So let's say that you had a workflow that is specific to a time overseas, for example. So you could have it so that instead of it being this sub-account's time zone, you could set it to the contact's time zone. Then you have the time window where you can set a specific time window that will restrict the workflow to only work inside of this time frame. So if you want to do that, you can do that there. Here you can configure which name the email should be sent from and which email. And like I mentioned, if you don't do anything here, it's just going to use the sub-account's defaults. So you can leave it empty, you can fill it out if you want. You can also select a phone number. If you have a phone number connected to your sub-account, you can set it up so that all the SMS inside of the workflow is going to be sent from that number. And then you can mark all the conversations as read when the workflow goes through them. After settings, you also have enrollment history, and enrollment history and execution logs are basically where you're going to be able to track everything that is going on in the back end of your workflow. So where each person that is inside the workflow is currently at, who has been through your workflow, when they went through your workflow, and stuff like that. All the actual analytics behind the workflow are going to be showing up in here. And to show you what that means, I could come back here into the builder and go up to where it says test workflow. And then I could select the test contact that we created earlier to run the workflow through. So I just click run test. And now, as we can see, we're going to be able to see exactly where this contact is in the workflow by this little icon right here. And if we click on it, we can see the test name and all the information. They are currently in this part of the workflow. And the reason that it skipped so far down is because all these wait triggers that we have right now are dependent on them actually having booked an appointment. And since that they didn't, it just skips all these waiting triggers and jumps straight to waiting for them to respond to this SMS message. Don't worry too much about that. If they start the workflow as intended, it is going to have them wait and going through all the different nodes. But now if you head into enrollment history, you will be able to see that our test contact is in here. We can see exactly when they enrolled into this workflow. We can see exactly the reason why they are inside of the workflow. This time it's because we hit the test button. We can also see exactly where they currently are. They are currently at the wait until the contact responds with 1 to 5. We can see the technical current status, which is currently waiting for them to reply. Then we can also see when the next execution is going to happen. Right now it's not available because it is depending on them to actually respond. And then we also have a couple of different actions to the right side here. We can view the execution history that will take us to execution logs. And that is going to show us everything that we need to know about this contact, where they've been, all this stuff. We can also see the contact's execution path. But this time it will take us into the builder and we can see what it has went through. But all these that like shine in bright green is where the contact has been inside the workflow. After that, we are able to force the contact to the next step inside of the workflow. So let's say we want them to skip the current step. We can click right here. When it's done loading, we will be able to see that because this was basically the final step of the workflow has now been finished, which means that the contact has been sent through everything inside of the workflow. Now, before there was also like a red one, and what that would do is that you would basically just remove this contact from the workflow completely, which if you wanted to do that. Let's back out of here because the final thing that we want to do to actually make sure that this workflow is going to work is that we need to take it out of draft mode and into publish mode. And the way that we do that is just by clicking publish workflow right here, click publish. And if you don't do this, then the workflow is simply just not going to work. So remember to do this. Now, I know that I told you previously that you need a trigger in every single workflow, which is also true. But a trigger can also be a manual trigger, meaning something that you actually start yourself. And to show you how that could work, I have come into this other workflow that we have called send SMS test, which is going to be like an SMS campaign where we're going to send out a bulk amount of SMS messages to our contacts. The first thing that we need to add is a wait step right here, where we just want to choose for a set period of time. We could set it to 1 hour, for example. And then after that, we can have an SMS campaign message 1. We could have it say, hey, so I thought I would circle back regarding helping your business with XYZ, for example. Let's just say it was that. Let's say we wanted to reactivate all of our old contacts with this offer. We could do that by going out of here and going into the contacts tab. Remember to also publish the workflow before you do this, by the way. When we get in here, we're going to have our smart list at the top right here, and also a tab that's called bulk action. So what we'd want to do is just select all of our contacts, click on the trigger automation that I showed you previously. We could call it something like SMS campaign 1. We can select the workflow right here by finding it. We called it send SMS text. And then we're going to have 3 different modes that we can send out these SMS messages in. Number 1, we can send all at once. Number 2, we can send at a scheduled time. So we could set it to start at the 25th, for example, if we wanted to do that. And then we can also send inside of drip mode. If we are sending out a bunch of SMS messages or emails or WhatsApps for that matter, it is a smart thing to set it in drip mode, because drip mode means that we send them out in small batches. And that is something that is very, very important for deliverability, because if we just spam out all the SMS messages as one, then 1, they aren't all going to be received. 2, our number is probably going to be flagged inside of the algorithms, meaning that not as many of these SMS messages are going to be sent out, or they're going to end up in a spam filter and in return not being sent out. So we want to select send in drip mode, and here we can still select a start and date time. So let's say we wanted it to start on Friday, for example. We can set the date, we can also set the time. Let's say we wanted it to be 4 p.m. So we can set it to 4 p.m. right here. Click OK and click confirm. Now it's set to June 26th. 2026, 4 p.m., which is perfect. We can then choose the batch quantity. So we could say we want to send out 5 SMS messages per batch. Then after that, we can set the repeat after. We could set it to 10 minutes, for example. So after 10 minutes, it's going to send out 5 new SMS messages. We can also choose which days we would want it to do. So for good compliance reasons, I recommend that you remove Saturday and Sunday, because people normally don't want to be disturbed on their weekend. So you can set it to Monday to Friday only. And then for the time window, we could set it to working hours. So something like 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., for example. If we now click add to automation, this is going to be our new trigger for the workflow. So if we click check progress, we're going to be taken into the bulk actions tab that I showed you before. And the scheduled start for this workflow is going to be showing up in here. As you can see, SMS campaign workflow is going to be queued for June 26th at 4 p.m. We have set a delay between the batches for 10 minutes, and each batch quantity is going to be 5, meaning we are sending out 30 SMS messages an hour. And also when this workflow goes live, it's going to shine green over here. And you're also able to look at the statistics by clicking on this little icon right here. You're going to be able to see everyone who's queued in the workflow, the deliverability success, how many of them are errors, and you're also going to be able to see exactly who those are in here. Perfect. Now you understand the basics of how you can build out workflows and automations. And this is one of the most high leverage things that you can do. Regardless if you run your own business, you're now going to be able to set these things up for yourself. Or if you want to sell these, you can set them up for other businesses in the future. A fun task that you can now do is that you can go through your own business, your own setup, and think about, where would I be able to create something that could actually be valuable, that I would be able to automate using these type of systems? Go through your own business, figure out where that would be, because this is going to make it so much easier for you if you want to sell it in the future, or just if you want to get more complex with your own business in the future. By forcing yourself to do these more simple automations, you will automatically learn more about how it works and therefore be able to create more complex workflows in the future. The next thing that we're going to be covering are the AI agents, meaning voice AIs and chat-based AIs. This is also one of the most exciting things, so let's just get straight into it. Before we jump into building the voice agents and the text-based agents, there is something that we quickly need to do before, because having a solid knowledge base is something that is used in both of these agents. So we might as well build it before we get started with those. Just come up to where it says knowledge base, then click the blue button that says create knowledge base. Let's just do it for one of our clients, which has this website right here. We could then call it the Mosquito knowledge base, for example. You can enter a description. It's not really too important, so I'm just going to click add. This is going to take us to the information center of the knowledge base. To give you a quick overview of what we are looking at, this is where we're going to be able to add information to the knowledge base for Mosquito's website. So we can do it by a web crawler, we can do it by having an FAQ, we can do it by adding tables, rich text, and we can also add files like PDF files or docs files. Let's start with the web crawler. The way that a web crawler works is that you give it a URL and it's going to scrape all the text on the website. So what I just have to do is click add website, go into the website, copy the URL right here, and we can paste it in right here. And one other thing that you can do is instead of setting it to exact URL, you can also choose all URLs with this path or all URLs in this domain. If you set it to all URLs in this domain, it's going to scrape all the available subdomains under this domain. So let's say there was one called mosquito.com/terms and conditions. It would also scrape that page as well. So I just recommend that you set it to this and click select pages to train. Now it's going to scrape the site, and in the meantime you could add something like an FAQ by coming to FAQ, clicking add FAQ, and you can add a question like how much does your artwork cost, for example, and then you could put your answer. It depends a lot on the project. If you want, we can have a chat over WhatsApp about it. For example, if you wanted that, you could click save. And now whenever somebody asks how much does your artwork cost, it's going to be this answer that it comes up with. Another thing you could do is you could drop in some files, like I mentioned. If they have like a price table in a PDF format, you could give the knowledge base access to that as well, just by going through the process right here. Now that the web crawler is also done with the page, we can just come back, and now we have a knowledge base with a bunch of information inside that we can use for the agents that we are about to build. Now it's time to jump into how we can build voice AIs. And you're actually going to stay under the same tab and just click over where it says voice AI. And this dashboard is going to open up where you're going to, one, be able to see all your dashboards and logs, and two, going to be able to see all of your different voice agents, which are going to show up right here once you start creating them. For now, let's just click on create agent, and we have the option to browse from the AI agent marketplace. You can do that if you want. You can create a custom agent or you can create a flow-based agent. For now, let's just create a custom agent, and this is the window that is opening up. And trust me, it is not going to be as confusing as it looks right now. To give you a quick overview, up here at the top, we're going to be able to determine everything regarding how the voice sounds and how smart it is, and language. In the middle here, we have our exact prompt that the agent is going to operate by. At the bottom right here, we can determine the welcome message. At the right side right here, we can configure actions, meaning what the agent has access to, meaning the different actions that the AI has access to do. We can set the knowledge base, we can determine the call settings, the agent behavior, transcription, yada, yada, yada. All these things are going to be determined in here. And on the right side, we are able to test the agent when we want to. Every single day, you get 20 minutes for completely free to test your voice AI, how it sounds, how it responds, all these things. The first thing that you really want to be doing is finding a voice that you think sounds good. So what you want to do is just clicking on the name right here, and this will open up the library of all the different voices.
I'm full of new trends, create.
Once upon a time, sharing kindness.
You can find what you want. There are literally 29 pages. Like this one with a bunch of different AI models. You can filter by providers, so you can set it to 11 Labs, OpenAI, or Cartesia. I normally just recommend that you don't touch this, and I think if you want to touch it, 11 Labs are going to be providing the best voices. You can also change the language. There is a wide variety of languages. You can set it to German, Spanish, French, Hindi, Japanese, Polish, Swedish, Norwegian, Turkish, Indonesian, Russian, Greek. So for now, we're just going to keep it as English, but you can do that if you want. You can even change stuff like accents, so you can have it be an American, British, Scottish, Australian, yada, yada, yada. You can have it be female or male if you want. And then you can sort by most liked, meaning what is typically going to be the most high quality voices.
Hey guys, here's just a more casual, kind of relaxed version of my voice, and I think it's great for conversational AI.
I think this voice is good, so we're going to go with Mark Convo AI. Just click Save Voice. Then we can also change the model. And this is going to determine how smart your AI model is. And I think that it is worth it picking the best models that are in here, which in my opinion is going to be Claude 4.5 Sonnet. It is also the most expensive, but the consistency in the answers and how well it's able to articulate is worth it for the small price change. The next thing that you can change is the prompt. And for now, I'm not really going to change the prompt because genuinely it is pretty good as it is. But if you wanted to change something and you're just starting out, you can always click Command A or Control A if you're on a PC, copy it, and head into either Claude or ChatGPT and just tell it that I want to do this or I'm having this problem. Here is my prompt. Can you fix it for me in the prompt? And then you can copy the output and paste it in right here until you have something that is genuinely solid. Then down here at the bottom, we are able to determine if the AI should speak first or if the user should speak first. I normally like having the AI speak first. And if that's the case, we can set exactly what it should say by changing this message down here. Right now it says, hey, you've reached Conrad's account. I could change that to, you have reached Mesquita Artwork, for example. How can I help you today? And then whenever, just click save, whenever somebody calls that phone that is going to be hooked up to this AI agent, it's going to say exactly this when the call has started.
Hey, you have reached Mesquita Artwork. How can I help you today?
Perfect, exactly how we want. The next thing that we are able to change are the actions, because the actions are basically how we can allow the agent to do different things, such as call transferring to a real human if something goes wrong, triggering a workflow if we wanted to be able to do that. We can have it send out SMS messages for us if we wanted to do that. We can also have it update a contact field based on what the conversation is about, for example. And the most important one, we can have appointment booking. By going through this step right here, we can give the agent access to book meetings for us by getting information and all that stuff so that you don't have to do a thing. We can also give the agent access to transfer the person over to another agent, and we can also add MCP servers if you want that. As you can see, that is in beta right now. So basically, if you want your AI to be able to actually take action on the call or after the call, this is where you're going to configure it. Then we have the knowledge base, which we just created. It's super simple to connect. You just click select knowledge base, and you just select the knowledge base that we just created. And then this little box is going to pop up, which is basically just an instruction for the AI on when to use this knowledge base. For now, just keep it as it is because it is genuinely good. It just says, use this knowledge base if the user asks any questions about the business, services, products, yada, yada, yada. Then after that, we have the call settings where we are able to set a time zone for the AI agent, as well as a maximum length for each call. So right now it sets to 15 minutes. You will never have a conversation with an AI that goes over 10 minutes, so you can easily set it to that. Also to save you credits. You can set the call to end after X amount of times of silence. So let's say that the person in the phone has been silent for 15 seconds. You can have it automatically hang up the phone so that you don't blow all your credits. You can also set up a wait time threshold for whenever the agent is going to speak. So you could, for example, set it to 5 seconds and then the AI is going to wait 5 seconds before it starts speaking in the phone. Up next, we have agent behavior, where you can set the response speed, meaning how fast the AI agent is going to respond over the phone. You can also set stuff like the interruption sensitivity, which is going to be able to determine how easily the person is able to interrupt and stop the AI from speaking over the phone. You can set the LLM temperature, which is determining how creative the AI is going to be. You want this to typically be in the low end because a lower LLM temperature means a higher consistency, which is exactly what we want. You can set up back channeling and allow the agent to use words like like natural pause words, you could say, so that it's going to sound more natural on the phone. And then you can also configure like silent phrases. So whenever someone says something specific, the agent is going to know, okay, I need to stay silent for this one and just listen so that it doesn't make some interruption. Then we have the transcription and speech, which is going to determine how accurate the AI is going to be when listening to your speech. I recommend having it on accurate because fast will sometimes cause the AI to mishear something that the person is saying. And let's say your business name is hard to pronounce. You can put the word and put the pronunciation in IPA format, which is going to make it easier for the AI to pronounce your business's name in the future. Then we have translation, which is only really relevant if your voice AI is speaking in another language. You can have it translate the summary and transcribe it to another language like English as well. Voice settings is an interesting one because in here you're able to determine how much noise cancellation should be applied, meaning what the AI listens for. So you can be very, very specific and remove all background noise. If someone is speaking in the background, it will filter that out automatically. But sometimes that can break, so I recommend just having it on remove noise. You can also have your own background sound. So let's say you want the AI to sound like it's sitting in a convention hall or a coffee shop. You can apply that right here, and an ambient environment sound is going to play in the background of your call. Then you can set stuff like the voice speed, the voice temperature, and the voice volume, which you can play around with. It actually makes quite a difference. I think these two are quite self-explanatory, but the voice temperature is going to determine how expressive and creative the voice is going to sound, like the pitching and stuff like that, right? So that is what that's going to cover. You can also flick on and off speech normalization, which is going to have the AI focus on pronouncing numbers and dates and stuff like that correctly. Post call is where you can set up what should happen after the call. So you can give yourself an email notification when a call is completed. As you can see, it's set to all admins. You can select a specific user if you want to do that, so that I would only notify myself, for example, when a call has ended. And you can also select another workflow if you want that to trigger after a call is done. So we could trigger, for example, my test workflow if that was a relevant workflow. Up next, we have reporting, which is just if you wish to have a performance email sent every time a call has finished, you can do that just by clicking performance summary email right here. Then we have these system prompts, and these are basically like sub prompts that go very, very niche specific, like personality, date and time awareness, numbers and symbols, speech rules, and email confirmation process. As it says right here in the yellow box, these prompts are rigorously tested and they are always optimized. I will say that they are very, very good for the English language, but if you are trying to do something in your own language, I know from Danish, from setting up Danish voice agents, that it will have a hard time pronouncing emails and numbers and dates and stuff like that. So if that's the case, I would recommend that you have ChatGPT or Claude or whatever LLM you use help you translate them, you could say, to your native language. But if your agent is in English, I wouldn't touch these. And finally, we're going to have the outbound settings, which aren't really relevant as of right now. And also, one thing that I almost forgot, you can change the name of the agent right up here just by clicking the pen icon. And we could call it something like Mosquito Receptionist, for example. And then we can copy this right here and just put it into the prompts. Now, all that's left to do is just testing it and going back and forth until you're happy with how the agent sounds and there are no real problems. So we can test how it sounds right here.
Hey, you have reached Mosquito Artwork. How can I help you today?
Hey, yeah. So I was a little bit confused about what it is that you guys do. Can you tell me about the services that you provide?
Sure. So, Mosquito Art specializes in bespoke kinetic art for luxury homes and visionary collectors. The artist Alessandra Mesquita Is there anything specific you'd like to know more about?
Yeah, I would like to know how I can get in contact with her.
Absolutely. You can reach out a couple of ways. You can call it, or you can send a direct message on Instagram at Mesquita. Would you like me to have someone from the team give you a call back as well?
It's fine. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. If you need anything else in the future, feel free to reach out. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too. And then you can just hang up the call. I would say that was pretty good. Maybe a little bit of a long explanation. So if this was the real case, I would maybe go into the prompt and have it say something like, if someone asks you to explain what they're doing, you can maybe shorten it down a little bit, max 30 seconds of speech or something like that. But something that is pretty cool in the right side right here is that you're able to see the full transcript of the conversation you just had. And also you can have a summary, which is going to summarize everything about how the call went. The final window that you can check out is where it says deploy right up here at the top. And this is where you're going to be able to connect your phone number that you have assigned to your sub account, as well as enabling the AI agent to be a backup. Or if you want it to be answering the phone every single time someone calls, you can do that by flicking this off. And as you can see, it now says the AI agent will answer all calls directly. Sometimes I think that it's useful to give the person who owns the phone number a chance to pick up the phone first. And if they aren't successful with that, you can transfer over to the AI agent that can then answer the phone and answer the questions that the person might have. So I recommend that you can flick this on and just click save right here. If you want, you can also set working hours for the agent, but that is not something that I'm going to touch for now. And as we can see, now we have successfully set up our first voice AI. But before this can actually work and actually start picking up the phone, we do need to buy a phone number and connect it to this voice AI. I'm going to be showing you how you can do that later on in this video. Another thing that was recently added by GoHighLevel is that we are able to set up outbound calls. What we've just created is an AI that will pick up the phone when somebody calls it. But you can now also build an AI that will reach out to your leads. Let's say they are filling out a form, for example, from ads. You can have an AI reach out to them instantly when they have filled out the form by setting up and enabling an outbound AI voice agent. Furthermore, if you come to dashboard and logs, this is where you're going to have an overview of all the calls that has occurred, both for inbound and outbound. And you can select the specific agent by doing like this. And you can see how many calls, how many triggers it has activated, how the sentiment has been, meaning how positive the conversations have been. You can see how many durations, how many minutes the AI has been active, and how long the calls are on average. Now you know how to build and set up voice agents. The next part is going to be on how we can build the exact same thing, but text-based instead. This is going to be a good one, so let's just get into it. Okay, it's now time to dig into the conversational AIs, and you're going to find that just besides the voice AI up in the menu right here. You just want to click on it and click on the blue box that says create bots. You're going to have two options then, prompt-based bot or a flow-based bot. I definitely recommend that you just run with the prompt-based bot, and then you're going to have 4 different options. If you want your bot to be more orientated about questions and answers, you can select the general Q&A one right here. If you want it to be more orientated about booking an appointment with the person, you can do that here. If you want to browse the templates like we did with the voice AI, if you want to browse the marketplace for templates, you can do that right here. And you can also start from completely scratch by selecting the one on the right side right here. For the business that I'm building it for right here, I think the Q&A makes the most sense. So I'm going to select that and click continue. And that is going to take me to the first page, which is going to be the bot settings page. The first thing that we should do is to rename the bot. So we could just call it the same as we called the voice AI, receptionist, for example. And then we need to set the bot status. By default, it's going to be set to off, which means that the AI is not going to respond to anything. We also have the option to set it to suggestive, which means that there are going to be preset answers that people can pick between. And then finally, we have the autopilot where it's way more automated, that allows the person to write whatever they want and the AI is going to respond however it likes. So we are going to run with the autopilot version. Then we have the supported communication channels. And this is basically where you want to set which channels this AI is going to be active on. So you could have it be active on SMS, Instagram, Facebook, chat widget, live chat, which is a website widget, and WhatsApp. You can even have it active on email as well if you want to do that. But for now, I'm just only going to set it to the website widget because I only want my AI to be active on there. Then if we scroll down a little bit further, we can provide the AI with the business's name. So I can do that right here. And I can also change the autopilot mode by changing stuff like how long do I want the AI to wait before it responds. Depending on if I want it to sound like a human or an AI, I could change this to, for example, 60 seconds. That way it's going to take its time and feel more human in its response. But if I just want it to be a bot, it doesn't matter. I just want to get them their response as quickly as possible. We can also set the max amount of messages the bot can send in a conversation. We can limit this to, let's say, 30. That way, people are not going to abuse your API key and you're not going to have a bill without getting anything out of it, basically. So you can restrict the amount of messages the bot is allowed to send. We can also allow this bot to respond to images and voice notes so that if the person inside of your widget is responding with a voice note or an image, the AI is going to be allowed to analyze that and come up with a response. And also you're able to turn the bot off if you send out a manual message or if a workflow is triggered. If you do that, the bot is just going to completely be turned off inside of that conversation, which can sometimes be a nice thing. You also have the option to turn on response style settings, and you can set it to concise, being balanced, or being detailed. I have never used this, so I normally just leave it off. And then finally, there is something called pricing. And I want to talk about this because this is quite interesting actually. If you click on the button right down here, it's going to open up this window. GoHighLevel has basically given you an opportunity to pay a fixed amount every single month for all the AI usage that you have across your sub account. This is not really worth it if you're just starting out with small clients or for yourself. But let's say you're landing a very big client that needs a lot of different AI services. Then you can get all the AI services for a fixed amount of $97 a month. But yeah, when you're just starting out, I wouldn't worry too much about this, but if you land a big client, maybe you can consider this. Good, when we're happy with everything, we can click save. Up next, we have the bot training. And what we can do here is that we can add a knowledge base. And we're just going to add the same knowledge base as before, because that is going to contain all the information that we want. Just click save. And now this bot is going to have access to this knowledge base. In here, we can also test it. So we can just try messaging it right here, and we can test how the AI actually responds in the window. Hey, what can I help you with today? Which is pretty good. The next thing that we can check out is going to be the bot goals. And in here is where we're going to be able to change stuff like the AI model that is going to be behind this conversation AI. Unfortunately, the variety of AI models is quite terrible in GoHighLevel as of right now. This might change in the future, but you only have access to GPT 4.1, GPT 4. Mini, 5, and 5 Mini. So GPT 4.1 is totally fine, but you could also use GPT 5 if you want to do that. Below that, we are going to have the prompts. Out of the box, they are actually pretty good, just like the voice AI prompt. But if you want to change them, you can copy everything, just like we did with the prompt in the voice AI, and you can give it to your Claude or your ChatGPT and tell it that you have XYZ problem and you want to fix it inside of this prompt and how you can do that in the best possible way. Because if you're just starting out, these AI models are going to be better than you are at prompt engineering. And also, if you want to give some guidelines to your AI so that it knows exactly how the bots work inside of GoHighLevel, you can click right here on the prompt guidelines, and that is going to open up a document provided by GoHighLevel with a bunch of information on what makes a good prompt. So you can give your AI all this information as well. That way it will adapt to how GoHighLevel's AI agents work. Finally, on this page, we have arguably the most important thing as well, which are the actions. And they work basically the same as in the voice AIs. You're going to be able to set up appointment bookings, you can trigger workflows, you can allow the bot to update the contact information directly from the conversation, you can instruct the bot on when to stop, you can have it hand over to a human if you want, you can also have it transfer over to another bot, and you can also set up follow-ups, which are going to allow the bot to send out follow-up messages to the person that it was previously messaging. Let's say I wanted to set up appointment booking, by the way, I could click on it. This is the type of window that would open up. I would just select single calendar, and we can pick a random calendar. Let's pick my own right here, click proceed. And then this window is going to open up where we can set either don't book appointment, only send the booking link. We can set it so that the bot is going to stop responding after a person has booked a meeting. We can trigger a workflow after the booking, or we can have the AI transfer employee past appointment booking. These can be valuable, but for right now, I'm just not going to touch it. We can also down here determine if the bot should be allowed to cancel an appointment, or if the bot should be allowed to reschedule the appointment inside of a conversation, which can sometimes be very, very useful. So let's say we're happy with this. We just click save. And now the conversation AI is going to have the skill of booking appointments. And finally, we have the dashboard where you're going to be able to manage all your different conversations, how many unique contacts have gone through, how many actions the bot has triggered, how many appointments the bot has booked, and also an estimate of how much time it has saved you. And it's also going to display all the different conversations down here. A bunch of different useful metrics, basically. The final thing that you really want to be doing is to make sure that you're setting this bot as your primary bot. Because if you don't do that, then the bot will just not respond to any inbound messages at all. So it is very, very important that you come up here and click on this button right here. It's maybe going to give you a warning like this, but just click confirm. Once we have set the primary bot as the main bot, we can proceed to the next step, which will be to actually construct the conversation AI chat widget interface. And we do that by coming to sites and heading up where it says chat widget. You're going to be seeing this window and you just want to click the blue button that says new. And then you have a bunch of different options. If you want your chat widget to be an all-in-one chat, where you're going to be able to combine WhatsApp, live chat, email, SMS, voice AI, all these different platforms, you can do it by selecting this one. If you want one which is only live chat, you can select it right here. If you want one that is connected directly through Instagram, you can do it right here. Same for WhatsApp and Facebook. You can also set one up that only runs over SMS and email. Then you can also have one finally that runs strictly with the voice AI. For now, I'm just going to be picking live chat because that is going to cover what I need. And that is going to take us to this page right here, where we're going to be able to change the look on our widget. First of all, we're going to be able to see how it looks on computer, on an iPad or an iPhone. We can see exactly how it's going to look like that. And on the left-hand side right here, we are going to be able to change everything visually about the widget. So we can change where the widget is going to be placed on the screen, if we want it to be embedded in line or sticky to the right side right here. We can change the appearance of the widget like this, change the chat icon, change the theme colors. You can also change the message that pops up when the conversation AI is closed down like this. You could remove this image if you want, fix the widget position to the screen, and also changing the widget dimensions if you want it to be wider or taller in its presence. You can feel free to go ahead and explore this, but inside of these windows is where you're going to be able to basically change the look on your website widget. Once you are happy with your customizations, you just want to click save at the top right here. You can also change the name of it right up here to something relevant, like this, for example. And finally, if you have a website website that you haven't built on GoHighLevel, you can also get the code from it right up here, which you can give to your AI agent, and then that can help you implement your website widget on that website. Okay, so now that the website widget is done, let me show you how you can actually apply it on your website. If we head over to websites and select the website that we built previously in this video, and you click on edit on your home page right here, if you then head into where it says settings and scroll down a little bit, you're going to be able to see the one that's called chat widget. And here you can simply just choose your chat widget like this and click save at the bottom right here. And if we then load up our website, we will be able to see that the widget will be present at the bottom right corner, exactly like we set it up to be. We will be able to see our widget at the bottom right corner right here, exactly like it was showing in the preview from before. We can then start messaging it. Hey, how's it going? And we can have a conversation with our AI agent inside of this window right here. And also something that is really cool is that I can then head into contacts and see the contact that has been created from this conversation with the website widget. And I will be able to see everything that the conversation AI and the person has spoken about to make sure that I can manage all the conversations and make sure that it doesn't go out of order in any sense. Like you can see right here, I have the full conversation right here. And that actually covers up everything there is to know about the conversations AI. The next thing that is going to happen is that I'm going to introduce you to some of these platforms that these AI agents live on, such as email, phone numbers, and stuff like that. Enough talking, let's get into it. The first thing that we're going to be diving into is the phone number system that is inside of GoHighLevel. And where you find it is that you go to settings and you scroll down until you see the one that's called phone system. This is a direct integration between GoHighLevel and the platform that is called Twilio. And Twilio is basically just a phone number platform where you're able to buy and sell your phone numbers and use them to send out SMS messages, make calls, MMS and stuff like that. The first page that you are going to be seeing is this manage numbers page. And this is where all of your phone numbers that you have purchased are going to be displayed. If you want to buy a new number, you simply click the blue button right here that says add number, and then you can click add phone number right here. And then this little menu will open up where you can browse all the different countries and all their available phone numbers will be showing up down here. So you could search for United States. You could check the numbers for Sweden, for example, they will show up here. All these different countries will have their phone numbers inside of here. Another thing that is quite important to note are the different capabilities of the different phone numbers, because this varies based on the country that you're wanting to buy the phone number for. For example, for the American numbers, you can see these numbers are available for making phone calls, they are available for sending out SMS, and you can even send out MMS and images with these phone numbers. But if you in turn go to a country like Sweden, you will see that their phone numbers only have the capabilities of sending SMS. If you ever find yourself in a situation needing a phone number for something specific, but the phone number in GoHighLevel doesn't appear to have that function, you can head into Twilio, which is the platform that is connected with GoHighLevel, to see if phone numbers from that country are even allowed to do that. So for this instance, we could check out Sweden, like we just checked out before, to see if they would even be possible to use it for phone calls. And as we can see, even inside of Twilio, they do not allow anything else than SMS. That could point at that it's something even deeper. Maybe the Swedish government has banned for everything regarding voice. But my point is that you can go into Twilio to check if the country's phone number will even allow the things that you need it to do. One thing that I quickly want to say is that if you are setting this up for somebody else, I will really recommend that you wait with doing this before you've actually closed them as a client and you have promised them the service delivery. It's just a lot of work to set up these phone numbers, and if you aren't 100% certain that you're going to use it, I would wait with it. I quickly want to show you what happens if you want to buy a phone number and how that process is going to work. Let's say that I wanted to buy this Texas phone number right here. The way that I do that is just by clicking this little circle right here and scrolling down to where it says proceed to buy. And this is going to open up a little menu right here where I will need to verify my identity with either a passport, a driver's license, or some sort of other ID that you might have. So you just want to go through this process in order to actually be able to buy the phone number. Now, when you buy and set up a phone number, one of two things are going to be needed from you. And it really depends on which country you want to set up the phone number in. And it really depends on which country the phone number is from. Because if you're trying to get an American phone number or a Canadian phone number, you will need to have something called A2P registration. And you set that up by going to Trust Center right here and going to where it says A2P messaging SMS, click Start Registration, and then you will need to provide a bunch of your business's legal stuff, or if you're setting this up for a client, you will need to provide their business's legal information inside of the windows right here. You basically want to go through everything, provide the legal business name, business type, you want to provide the email, basically go through all these three windows in order to be able to get A2P registration. And why is this important, you may ask? If you don't use A2P registration, your SMS messages are just completely going to be blocked inside of Canada and inside of the US. So you really have no choice. It is something that you have to set up if you want to use an American or a Canadian phone number. Now, when it comes to basically every other country, like inside of the EU, Australia, or New Zealand, all these other countries, you will need to set up something else that is called a regulatory bundle and a regulatory address. This is not going to be as requiring as setting up something like A2P registration. The way that you do it is click the blue Create button right here, select Address Bundle, then you just need to fill out the business's details. And again, if you're setting this up for your own business, you set up your business's information. And if you're doing this for a client or someone else, it's important that you set up this with their business information. To give you a reference of exactly how it looks, I've come to one of our other sub-accounts where you can see when you're done filling in the regulatory bundle and the address, it will be displayed right down here and the status will say validated. Once you have set up the A2P registration or the regulatory bundles, you are ready to go in and purchase your phone number. Another cool thing that is if you go back into this window right here, and if you need further help, you can click on where it says Learn More right here, and you will be provided with a document straight from GoHighLevel and Lead Connector with a bunch of information about how buying phone numbers inside of GoHighLevel works in practice. So you can check that out if that is something you want. Now we are in a position where we have successfully connected our phone number to our sub account, and now I want to show you what you are able to do with it. The first thing that we can do is we can head back out here and we can go into AI agents, because we are going to be able to connect our phone number with an actual voice AI. And to show you how that works, let me just open the one that it's already connected with. When you head to deploy, you will be able to see where it says phone and availability, and on the phone, that phone number is going to be connected. And you can configure it by clicking here and selecting another phone number if you want to do that. Something that we found very useful is to actually set up a hierarchy on what exactly should happen when someone calls that number. Because it's not always that you want the AI to pick up the phone instantly. Maybe you want to give the business owner a chance to actually pick up the phone before we send the caller on to the voice AI. If you want to do that, you want to come back into phone system right here. You want to find your connected phone number and you want to click these three dots right here and you want to go to edit configuration. And this is going to open up this little window right here where we can give it a friendly name, which was the one that was displayed out here. We can select who the call should go to. So in this instance, you want to select phone number and then you'd want to select the business owner's profile or your own profile right here, basically who the call should be forwarded to, right? And when you've done that, you want to go to where it says call forwarding, because here's where we can set down the specifics. And what you want to do if you want to do exactly what I said before, where it calls the business owner or you first and then sends it over to the voice AI, you want to have the first priority be your team member, and you set yourself here again, just like before. Then you can have another phone number if you want to do that. Let's say you want your business partner to be able to pick up the phone. If you miss the call before it gets sent to the AI, you can put their phone number here and it will forward it to that person first. Let's just say, but we don't want to do that right now. We want to be able to make sure that the voice AI is the one that picks up all the calls that are missed. So for that, you want to set the voice AI as the second or the third priority down here. And once you've done that, you just want to click save. And now all of your different calls that are going to come in are going to be sent to you first and then forwarded over to your voice AI, which is very, very cool. A whole other thing that we can do now is that we can connect this to our automations. So if we head into automations, I'm just quickly going to create a new workflow to show you what I mean. We can click on the plus here and we can choose the send SMS, create our message like this right here. And if we go up under settings, where we will be able to choose our phone number that the SMS should be sent from. Also, if you only have one number on your sub account, you don't have to do this because the platform automatically knows that you're going to be using that phone number. But if you have multiple phone numbers, it can be useful that you select the one that you want the SMS to be sent from, depending on the specific workflow. I know that this can be a little bit technical, and to be fair, it is quite confusing when you're first starting out. So if you have any questions with this, don't be shy to contact us through our support mail. You can also drop a question inside of either of the communities and we will try to help you there, or somebody else who've had the same problem will try to assist you there. With that being said though, I think it is time to move on from the phone system and jump straight into WhatsApp. If you are in a region where WhatsApp is popular, it can be one of the most high ROI things you can connect to your GoHighLevel sub account. There is one little bottleneck though, and that is that you are going to be set back $10 a month to do this. But in many cases, this can be so worth it. And in almost all instances, you are going to be set back less than if you were to use something like SMS. To get started with using WhatsApp, just come to WhatsApp under settings and click on pay $10 and subscribe. That's going to open up this window right here. You basically just want to connect your card if you haven't done it already, and just pay the $10 and subscribe by clicking the button right here. After this page, you will be prompted to either set up your WhatsApp with an existing WhatsApp account, or you will also be able to create a connection with a completely new WhatsApp account. You basically just want to choose the one that fits your needs the best. When you have successfully connected your WhatsApp account with your GoHighLevel, you are going to be taken to a page that looks somewhat like this. And the way that WhatsApp works is a little bit different from some of the other platforms, because the way WhatsApp works is that they want you to create a message template, which is going to be the one that you're going to be sending out. And then Meta wants to be able to validate that to make sure that you aren't spamming people, because that is something that they care about a lot. So if you want to create a new template, we just click the blue button that says so, click on blank template, and we will be taken to this page right here. You can give your template a name. We just call it test template. You want to set the category to marketing if that is what you are doing. You want to set the language so you can have it in all these different languages. For now, we're just going to keep it in English. Then you can decide if you want to show the header or not. If you're sending out a message where you aren't really trying to hide that it's an automated message, for example, it could be useful to still have a header. But if you're trying to send out a very natural text, you can remove this. After that, we can create the message body, which is just going to be the message that will appear on the person's WhatsApp. So we can just say something like, hey, and then we can actually create variables inside of WhatsApp as well. The way that we do that is we click add variable, and this one is going to show up right here, where we can then connect a custom field by clicking on whatever we want. Let's say we wanted it to be their first name. We click contact first name, and then it wants us to enter a sample content. So that could be Jack. Then we also have the option to create a footer, which, as you can see from my text input here, is just going to be some less visible text that will appear under your message. Again, if you're trying to do this less formally and want it to act as a personal message being sent out, I would recommend that you keep this off. And finally, you can also add a button to go to a funnel or a website, for example, if you wanted that. But for now, we're not going to do that. Okay, so let's say we were happy with everything right here. All that we want to do is click on create right here. And this is going to request a review, and we will now have requested for Meta to take a look at our templated message, and they're just basically quickly going to take a look at it and just make sure that it's not some spammy message that we're trying to send out to people who didn't ask for it, right? When the templated message has been accepted by Meta, which can sometimes take up to 24 hours, it's going to say active or accepted right here, exactly like it does on my screen right here. And the way that it works is that if someone then responds to the message that you've sent out, you can have your conversation AI continue the conversation by coming back into AI agents and going to conversation AI, going into our old widget right here, and then going here and selecting WhatsApp as well. When you do that, the AI agent is going to take over the conversation when someone responds, which can be very, very useful. Okay, let's say that your template has now been accepted and you want to start sending it out to a specific group of people. What you would do is that you need to create a workflow starting from scratch again. You could call it something like WhatsApp reactivation, for example, something like that. You want to leave the trigger empty and you want to click right here, search for WhatsApp, just select the one that says WhatsApp. You can then give your action a name if you want, it's not too important. Then you can select the template. So your template will then show up right here, so you can select it. Then you will be able to see which number it's being sent from, which is the one you have connected WhatsApp with. And then you will also be able to preview the message that is going to be sent out to people. You can click save action. Also, you might want to turn enable branches off for this case and just click save like that. Now that you have your automation, you will then go back exactly like I showed you before into your context tab. You will then pick out the amount of people that you want to initiate this workflow with. click on trigger automation, give it a name, select the workflow, and then give it a name, select the workflow, select the mode that you want it to be sent out to, and then just click add to automation, exactly like we did previously in this guide. And that basically sums up the most important things that you need to know about how you can set up WhatsApp and start using it in your GoHighLevel sub account. The next thing that we're going to take a look at is metas to other platforms and how you can connect those to your sub account. When we want to connect Instagram and Facebook, they are not going to have their own menu in the left sidebar right here, but that does not mean that we're not able to connect them. You're going to be able to find them under integrations. As you can see, you're going to have Facebook here. And some of you guys might be wondering, well, I can see Facebook, but where is Instagram? And that is because when you set up Facebook and Instagram with your GoHighLevel sub account, what you need to do first is have a professional Facebook page and connect a professional Instagram account to that Facebook page, which is all something that you're going to be doing directly through Meta. So to show you how you can do that, you want to come to your Facebook page. I'm on mine right here, and I want to go down to where it says settings in the left side menu, click on that, and then I want to scroll down until I see the one that's called linked accounts under permissions. Click on that. And you're going to be able to see which Instagram page is connected to the Facebook page and which WhatsApp is going to be connected to the Facebook page. Right now we can see it says connected to and then my Instagram, but let's say I wanted to switch that up, we could disconnect it right here, or for you, you might not have anything there, so you're just going to have to connect your Instagram account right in the same place. To make sure that you have done that correctly, you can come back to your main Facebook page. You can scroll down to where it says Meta Business Suite. You will see that your Facebook page and your Instagram page are going to stand side by side right here. When you've done that, you are ready to go back into GoHighLevel and connect your platforms through the interface right here. It's fairly simple, just click connect. You're then going to be prompted to sign in with your Facebook page. Once you've done everything correctly, it should display your Facebook page's name right here under where it says Facebook. And if you click on manage, you should be able to see your Instagram page. And it's important that you click the little blue check mark right here and make sure that's turned on and click update and continue. Once that is done, your Instagram and your Facebook will be connected to your GoHighLevel sub account. And exactly like I showed you before with the WhatsApp, if we head into the Conversation AI under AI agents and we flick on Facebook and Instagram right here, then if someone messages us on the connected Instagram and Facebook page, the AI agent is going to be able to message them directly on the platform. And same goes for workflows. If you want to use Instagram DMs or Facebook Messenger DMs now, you're going to be able to do that because you've connected the platforms to your GoHighLevel. The final platform that we need to cover is emails. Because emails have a lot of different usages, and the way that you find it is that you head up to where it says email services and click on that. Sending out emails has a lot of different useful purposes. You can do it to send out email reminders. You can send out campaigns using email. Basically what I'm trying to get at is that you can use email for a bunch of different useful things inside of GoHighLevel. Basically what I'm trying to say is that email is a very, very useful feature. There is one thing that is very important to note about this email service, and that is that the default domain that you've been handed over upon creating the sub account is the one that every single person in the world that creates a new fresh sub account is going to be given access to. That also means that this domain is going to be heavily used and heavily flagged for something like spam. And why is that important, you may ask? Well, if you're trying to send out important emails that you want your recipient to actually read, if you use this domain right here, almost a 100% chance that your email is going to land in their spam folder or not be sent at all. And if that happens, the possibility of them actually reading your email are going to drop significantly. And so to fix that problem, we want to be connecting our own domain. To do that, come to the blue button up at the top right corner and then click on where it says add domain. This will take you to this page right here where you can enter your domain name. One important thing to note is that even the platform itself tells you to use a subdomain with lead connector. And it's just basically best practices because you don't want to be using your exact domain for something like your website, for example. To give you an example of a subdomain, I, for example, own the domain that's called aocpremium.com, which is spelled like this. An example of a subdomain could be mailservice.aocpremium.com, or you could put something like noreply.aocpremium.com. When you have the domain that you are happy with, you can click on add and verify, and this is going to take us to this window right here. Now this is the part where we need to configure the DNS settings, and this can be a little bit tough. The thing that you can do is that you can click right here on add record manually, this is going to open up the DNS settings, which you are going to want to paste inside of your DNS provider's settings. If this is something that confuses you a lot, I would recommend that you open up ChatGPT or Claude and have that help you with where exactly you need to paste this information, because it can vary a lot depending on which provider you're going to use. Once you have done that, you want to click on Verify Records. And if you've done everything correctly, you're going to be taken to a page that looks exactly like this, where your main sender domain is going to be displayed right up here at the top. And besides the shared IP, it should say active, and it should also have this green pill that says SSL issued right down here. The next thing that you want to do is you want to go to domain configuration. So you're basically allowed to tell GoHighLevel exactly when it should use your subdomain. You could have it be set to everything, so calendar, payments, conversation domain, bulk edit, campaign domain, workflows, blah, blah, yada, yada, yada. But you could also only have it be set for your calendar and use a different subdomain for payments, for example, by setting a new one up exactly like we just did. And you'll now also be able to see that if we click back in the top right corner and we go to email services, then you will notice that your sender domain is also going to be displayed on this interface right here. And the final thing that is worth noting is that there are a bunch of different menus where you're going to be able to change some of these settings, see some of the analytics of your email campaigns. You can see the bounce classification settings and stuff like that. You're most likely not going to be using most of these, but feel free to go ahead and check them out for yourself. I touched on this a little bit in the beginning when we went through the quick overview on the whole GoHighLevel platform. And that is that if you go into the Conversations tab and you have all the platforms connected that we just went through, all of your conversations from all the platforms are going to be showing up in here, which makes it super, super easy to manage everything. As you can see right now, I have over 16,000 unread messages from mainly Instagram and Facebook. But what is crazy is that GoHighLevel has also created a mobile app where you'll be able to see and manage exactly this as well. And this can be useful for yourself if you're on the go and want to make sure that you're catching up on everything. You can just go into this app and see everything that's going on, or you can sell this to your client as a service that they will be able to have everything inside of one platform so that everything becomes super, super manageable. So in this next short section, I'm going to give you a proper introduction to exactly this mobile app. Let's get into it. Let's say that you have now set everything up. All the AI agents, all the integrations, all the different workflows are now ready. GoHighLevel has done something pretty cool, which is that they've made a mobile app so you can always be up to date on everything, even though you are on the go. To find the app, go into the App Store and search for GoHighLevel. And as you can see right here, this is the one with the logo that is pretty recognizable. For me, it's already downloaded, but if it isn't for you, just go ahead and download it real quick and just open it up once it's done. The first thing we'll be asked to do is to log in real quick. So that is exactly what I'm going to do. Once you are logged into the app, this is how it's going to look. So first of all, you have your home menu where you can see stuff like your pipeline value, how many appointments you have today, how many unread messages you've had the last 30 days. And you will also have access to all these different hotkeys where you can quickly go to your contacts, your opportunities. You can go to the dialer. You can add a new contact, all these different things. The most important thing though is that you can go to the Conversations tab right here. And if everything is connected like we just did, then all of your contacts and all of your messages are going to be stored in here. You can change the filters however you like, but you can see this is the test contact that we created previously. And I'm going to be able to read all the different messages that have been related to that contact if I tap on them like that. We can also go to my inbox. Stuff will be displayed in here as well. Then in the middle, we have the search function where we'll just be able to search for different stuff. If we come to the fourth tab, the calendar tab, we will have an overview of all of our appointments. So all the appointments that would be connected to this account that I'm logged in as right now would be displayed in this calendar right here. And if you head to the number 5th, which is the app section, it's just basically a dashboard where you can go to all the different features that are available inside of the mobile GoHighLevel app. It is basically that easy, and all the most important features that you need to manage your GoHighLevel account on the go will be able to be accessed through the mobile app. And that actually also sums up the final segment for this GoHighLevel Masterclass. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. You now know all the most important things about GoHighLevel, and you are more than prepared to start using it in your business or on your client's business. On the final note here, I quickly want to mention again that if you want a cheaper way to get started with GoHighLevel, we have our AOC Premium community. That way you will be able to get access to GoHighLevel for only $79 a month instead of the original $297 a month that GoHighLevel is going to charge you. Alternatively, I'm also going to be leaving a affiliate link down below in the description if you want to try out a free trial with GoHighLevel before committing to the purchase. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this masterclass. If you have any questions, make sure to create a school post about them in either of the communities or leave a comment down below if you're from YouTube. With that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.